Chapter 552. Many people were paying attention to the demonic godflower. This item was extremely rare and could only be nurtured in a special environment. This demonic godflower was definitely a unique flower that was slowly cultivated from the blood essence of the ancient dragon snake's corpse. The demonic godflower had many effects. It could strengthen the body's foundation, strengthen one's life source, and even increase the strength of one's bloodline. It was a very special secret medicine that was only effective for living beings in the demon domain. If the dragon snake absorbed the bloodline, it would revert to its ancestral state. The value of this demonic godflower was definitely not inferior to the dragonization fruit. It had a rare effect on living beings in the demon domain. The dragon snake was unwilling to refine it now. He was waiting for himself to become stronger before absorbing the medicinal power of the demonic godflower. That way, he could perfectly utilize the demonic godflower's effects. The surrounding people were stunned. They saw a hand reaching out strangely and silently grabbing the demonic godflower. He even used his strength and pulled the demonic godflower out. Everyone present exclaimed subconsciously, "What was going on?" There was no need to mention the dragon snake's combat strength. The demonic godflower was also his. However, who was so bold to pull the demonic godflower out in front of him? This made their hair stand on end. Their hearts were filled with fear. Moreover, what made them feel even more incredulous was that this person was not satisfied after plucking the demonic godflower. He even extended his hand to the ancient dragon snake's corpse. F***CK. The surrounding people cursed. This person was too greedy. He was not satisfied with the demonic godflower and wanted to take away the ancient dragon snake's corpse. B***starred. This dragon snake with a head full of scarlet hair draped over its shoulders stared so hard that its eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. Its entire precious body released surging scarlet divine light that pierced through heaven and earth like a murderous sword, riddling this region with thousands of holes. He was almost driven mad. He had just broken through and was in a glorious era. Who would be so shameless as to come and pluck the demonic godflower? He even wanted to take away the ancient dragon snake's corpse. This person did not give him any face at all. Su Yan's arrival was very strange. He made his move without anyone noticing and really took away the demonic godflower. However, when his hand approached the dragon snake's corpse, he realized that there was still a portion of terrifying energy in the corpse. This shocked him, and he quickly retracted his hand. This was not something he could touch. "Give me your life." The roar continued, and the dragon snake was so angry that his blood began to boil. A gigantic phantom of a dragon snake appeared behind him, and a terrifying aura filled the air. With a roar, the space in front of him shattered. Moreover, when it brandished its fists, this entire region was greatly shaken. Tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers all released muffled loud noises, and everything seemed to be on the verge of sinking in. How domineering was this? The dragon snake's battle prowess was extremely powerful. He was like a crazed scarlet demon god, his hair flying in anger. He wanted to find the true culprit behind the scenes and seize the demonic godflower back. However, no matter how astonishing his power was, Su Yan had long since slipped away. He felt that he had to keep a low profile and not reveal too much of his fighting strength. Moreover, this dragon snake was not easy to kill and would require a lot of energy. Now was not the time for them to fight. Rumble. This dangerous land violently shook, and large cracks appeared everywhere. The dragon snake frantically took action. He was so angry that his heart and lungs were trembling. Even he was unwilling to eat that demonic godflower, yet now it was actually snatched away right under his nose. Wasn't this a bit too much of a slap to his face? "Find him for me. I'm going to grind his bones to dust." The dragon snake crazily roared. He couldn't find Su Yan, not even a shadow of him. The other party's speed was simply too fast, and he had disappeared without a trace. It was quite difficult to catch Su Yan in this forbidden area. He was like a fish in water here. Moreover, he had already thoroughly grasped the surroundings and was leaving this place at an extremely fast speed. Who the hell did it? The spectators were all flabbergasted. They discovered that the person had disappeared, and not even a shadow could be seen. His speed is too frightening. He took it and ran away. If it wasn't for the fact that the ancient dragon snake's corpse was difficult to transport, I reckon that this thing would have been taken away by the other party. Snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Who the hell did it? Their guts are too big. Many people rejoiced in other people's misfortune, while others didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As for the group of demons, they were so angry that their hearts and lungs were about to split open. This person didn't put them in his eyes at all. This matter caused a ruckus for several days, and it still didn't end. The dragon snake's eyes were red with grief and indignation. He let out a loud roar, but the most important thing was that he couldn't find the culprit. Some people suspected that it might be Su Yin. After all, he was a strange man and also had a grudge with the demon realm. He had a motive to target the dragon snake. Some people felt that it shouldn't be him. The other party was too familiar with the appearance of the forbidden area. During this period of time, Su Yin had been targeting the dark underworld race and hadn't come to the forbidden area. Moreover, the dragon snake didn't believe that Su Yin was the culprit. He didn't believe that Su Yin could steal the demonic god flower from under his nose. Su Yin had already handed the demonic god flower to a disciple and asked him to send it back for Bao Kai to use. This was just a small episode for Su Yin. He didn't take it to heart. He continued to roam the vast forbidden area, exploring the forbidden areas and searching for treasures. He rarely had conflicts or bloodshed with outsiders. He also encountered some dangers along the way, which made him very surprised. This place was too dangerous. Su Yin had the yin-yang compass, but even he had encountered difficulties, let alone the other experts. Time passed slowly, and 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Su Yin was very excited. He had dug out an ancient ruin and found many ancient secret manuals and rare great medicines. The tinsel had gotten his wish and obtained an ancient saber art. It could be said that he was like a tiger that had grown wings. I've been searching for almost half a year, but I still can't find it. The tinsel scratched his head. He had experienced many things in this half a year. Su Yin had also explored most of the forbidden areas. There was no need to mention his gains. With the yin-yang compass and the dragon totem in hand, all the treasures in the world were converging on Su Yin. Su Yin had even dug out some of the Saint Grade Heaven and Earth Source plasma. Only the Great Tao Evolution liquid could not be found. They were in urgent need of this item to increase their strength. Half a year had passed, and Su Yin's strength had also stabilized. They could only continue to explore and search for treasures, hoping to find the place where the Great Tao Evolution liquid was born. Big news! That great thief has surfaced again. This time, he directly snatched away a Saint Medicine dug out by the Cosmos Business Alliance. The news spread and caused quite a commotion. A great thief had appeared in the forbidden areas during this half a year. He specialized in plundering good things and was very accurate in his methods. The number of treasures he had snatched away was not small. The most valuable was the demonic god flower and a saint medicine that the Cosmos Business Alliance had lost. Mother of Astra's Cur, who is it? Who is it? Find him, find him! The Violet Jade King was about to go crazy. The saint medicine had just been dug out and hadn't even warmed up before it was snatched away. That was a saint medicine. This was also the first saint medicine Su Yin had obtained so far. The dragon snake personally came to ask about the progress of this matter. In the end, he came to the conclusion that the method of the expert who had snatched the demonic god flower was exactly the same as the method he had used to snatch it. The other party could be said to have swaggered in without any fear. The two of them were like brothers in distress. They wanted to cry, but had no tears. The demonic god flower and the saint medicine had actually been snatched away by the same person. I seriously suspect that it's Madman Su. He's already disappeared for half a year. Someone speculated. Although Su Yin had been hiding for almost a year, with his courage, it was very likely that it was Su Yin who had done it. You can't say that. Do you still remember the matter of the treasure trove? Even now, we still haven't found out who did it. If we're talking about the one who's been hiding the most, it's Shui Guan. a name that seemed to have been forgotten by everyone. Shueguan had been missing for a very long time, ever since the divine spiritual mountains opened. He had never appeared. People simply didn't believe that Shueguan, who had opened the great Tao heavenly eye and even had dual supreme physiques, would hide and not appear all this time. Even Su Yin couldn't find traces of Shueguan. However, in a certain pure land with a peaceful aura, this place was isolated from the rest of the world. The aura of the great Tao pervaded the air. This place had been peaceful for a very, very long time. On this day, the peace was broken. The entire Pure Land trembled violently, crushed by a special kind of domain. The world flickered between light and darkness as a terrifying airflow suddenly appeared. That was a shadow that seemed to be towering in the yin-yang purgatory. He sat cross-legged in the void, two large black holes bursting open behind him. It was as if the yin-yang heavenly river was revolving around Shueguan with a rumbling sound. A terrifying aura descended upon the world. The cultivators here were all trembling and shivering. One by one, they prostrated themselves on the ground. They gazed at Shueguan and felt that he was a bit unfamiliar. At this moment, his expression was cold and callous. He was like a high and mighty divine king, his aura devouring the world and looking down on all living things. Behind him, yin and yang merged as if they were about to evolve into primal chaos. Incomparable fluctuations surged out and filled the entire Pure Land. Even the vast Pure Land couldn't withstand the aura released from his body and was about to explode. Some of the clansmen trembled as they walked up and respectfully bowed. They were recounting the major events that happened during these days. Interesting. A trace of coldness flashed through Shueguan's face. He stood up, and the Pure Land collapsed. It was truly a peerless majesty that suppressed the heaven and earth. This Pure Land could no longer hold him, and was about to become a great rift valley. Some of the clansmen couldn't withstand it. Their bodies felt like they were about to split apart, and their hearts were filled with fear. Their hearts were also filled with fanaticism. The champion of the Shui family was high and mighty. What did Su Yin count for? I've been looking forward to the Mother Scripture for many years. I hope Su Yin won't disappoint me. Shueguan said calmly. It was as if there was nothing in the world that could affect his Tao heart. In the Forbidden Land, the more they talked about the great thief, the more bizarre it became. The Purple Jade King and the Dragon Snake were furious. After searching for half a year, they still couldn't find him. In the end, they suspected that Madman Su was the culprit. Among the geniuses who had risen in recent years, Su Yin was the most suspicious. The demon realm had sent people everywhere to search for Su Yin. They had even turned the sixth ominous land upside down, but they still couldn't find a trace of him. Some people felt that they should follow the example of the Dark Nether race and attack Hokuto. But when they thought about the miserable resource lands of the Dark Nether race, they could only grit their teeth and give up. They were really worried that they would force Madman Su into a corner. Now, they could only clamor everywhere, hoping that Su Yin would appear. The Dragon Snake wanted to fight Su Yin. Weisina found him. On this day, in the depths of the Forbidden Land, there were few people. Everywhere was filled with the aura of God slaying. Su Yin had been searching like crazy. He was about to finish a carpet search of the entire Forbidden Land. But ever since he entered the most dangerous area, the blood in his body couldn't help but boil. Chapter 553. Su Yin's breathing was heavy. He had been squatting in the Forbidden Zone for nearly half a year and had reaped astonishing rewards. But to him, no amount of rewards was more important than Great Tao Mountain. He had encountered 2 of the 9 great immortal mountains. The third, Great Tao Mountain, was of utmost importance. It was of great help to Su Yan's current cultivation. He needed to verify his Tao and merge with the great Tao of heaven and earth. He hoped to cross that hurdle and reach the perfected great Tao realm. Only by crossing that hurdle would he have the qualifications to cultivate to the God realm in the future, or even higher realms. And now, the boiling blood of his race was transmitting a call. It made Su Yin feel that he had arrived at his destination. They had been squatting here for nearly a year. Upon hearing Su Yan's words, Tensor was also excited. The more this was the case, the more careful they were. This place was very dangerous, and death was at stake. Hokuto's other disciples, Su Yin, did not bring them along for fear of encountering troublesome matters. They felt their way over, as though they were about to arrive at the Forbidden Zone's final destination. Everywhere was filled with a stifling aura. In the previous universe era, too many great beings had fallen here, and the number was uncountable. Perhaps even the powerful beings had died in battle at godly spiritual mountain range. As they approached the final destination, the desolate, grand, and vast scene made their expressions turn solemn. The world in front of him was gray and misty. It was so quiet that it made him panic. It was as if he could hear a pebble falling on the ground clearly. Moreover, this world was extremely vast and spectacular. It was as if a pitch-black continent was hibernating. Be careful. Tensor could not help but remind them. He and Su Yin were hiding at the periphery, not daring to venture too deep. Su Yin activated his martial Tao Heavenly Eye and observed nearby. This place was too big, and it was difficult to see everything in a short period of time. Su Yin directly borrowed the yin-yang compass. The compass shone. After nearly a year of life and death experiences, Su Yan's grasp of the mystic sects Tao and Tao had improved by leaps and bounds. He felt that he was now a mystic sect expert, able to observe the world situation. Especially after borrowing the yin-yang compass, Su Yan's spiritual will was magnified infinitely. It was as though he had transformed into a deity, looking down on the world's layout. But in the process, Su Yin felt extremely stifled. In his observation, the pitch-black mountains were like territories that the world could not bear. It made his eyes bloodshot. Even with his strong spiritual power, he was unable to see the entire picture. This made him lose all color. How could the situation here be so grand? He felt powerless, not knowing where to start. He could not even see any threat. The more it was like this, the more vigilant he became. This meant that the situation here was too shocking. It was not something that Su Yin could act rashly. Perhaps if he touched something, it would attract an extremely terrifying, killing calamity. Zhang Liang asked. He had made great progress in the past year. He was like a barbaric dragon and could easily display his peak battle prowess. Su Yan's face was solemn. He did not dare to step in. In the world in front of them, there were black mountains one after another. There was no end in sight. There were also many black mountains. They did not see any traces of battle, but the world seemed to be very heavy. The aura that hit them in the face made them feel like they were being suppressed. I'll go in and try first. Tensor was very courageous. He took out the black heavenly blade. The dormant divine power in his body boiled and filled with endless light. He wanted to step into a mountain and see if there was anything special inside. Don't move. Su Yin fiercely pulled Zhang Liang back. The yin-yang compass shone and sealed off the area. This compass was very special. It could seal off the sky and land and become one with the heaven and earth. Even God spirits would have a hard time discovering its existence. Someone is coming. Zhang Liang's heart trembled. This place was extremely difficult to break through. They had spent more than 2 months to reach this place. This was under the condition that Su Yin had the help of the yin-yang compass. However, someone had actually managed to break through here. Not to mention him. Even Su Yin was surprised. After all, he was a Chiman expert and also had the most valuable treasure of the Chiman clan. Even if Sun Dome and King Flash worked together, they could not reach this place in a short time. Moreover, the person who came was not a small matter. They could feel an abnormally terrifying energy fluctuation from far away. This was definitely an expert with peak battle strength. He was driving towards the Black Mountains. Boom! Soon, a powerful aura pervaded the air. A young divine king bathed in the divine flames of the 9 heavens appeared. His appearance was extraordinary. Behind him, there was a blazing sun that burned in the sky. The space behind him evaporated into a big black hole. Sundome's strength was unquestionable. A domain expert like him rarely took action, and even if he did, it would be against peak characters. This person's combat strength was truly unfathomable. The other Lightning King was like this as well. He was like a young god, an overlord that controlled lightning, and he was suffused with a vast quintessence aura of the Grand Tao. His entire body was accompanied by world-obliterating lightning that danced about, and he himself was like a condensed sea of lightning. The two of them, Tensor was shaken. To the supreme beings of two great star domains, these characters were too strong. They carried the great Tao of the strongest life, ancient star on their backs. They could erupt with combat strength that would cause the world to gasp in amazement. Tensor knew that they already stood at the peak of their generation. Their goal was to become a deity. But Sundome and King Flash working together? Suyan's expression was a bit strange. It was not because of them, but because of a woman. This woman was as dazzling as the sun. Even Tensor was stunned. She has come into being. She's a living creature. Tensor and Suyan didn't know what to say. When they stole the 3 treasures, a great change occurred. Even now, just thinking about it made them pale. But this mysterious golden woman had rushed out from that mysterious ancient land. But now, the golden maiden had appeared. She wore a golden armor that accentuated her impressive curves. The golden armor even accentuated her snow-white skin, giving her a bewitching charm that attracted Yang Qiong and the Lightning King's attention. Such a peerlessly beautiful woman was truly rare. No matter if it was her appearance or figure, they were both of the best quality. Especially her head of sparkling and translucent golden hair. Moreover, even her pupils were golden, and she was filled with an extremely noble bearing. She was like a golden maiden, making many women feel ashamed of their inferiority, not daring to stand next to her. It wasn't just Yang Qiong and the Lightning King, but also a group of their subordinates. Among them, there were some beautiful women who didn't dare to look at her directly. Even some experts felt that standing next to her didn't match her status. It was as if they were some servants accompanying her. How honorable was this? In this place, only Yang Qiong and the Lightning King, who were at the peak of the domain realm, could match her aura. Suyan and Tensor were greatly shaken. They knew her origins and couldn't help but tremble. Who was this woman? How could she be accompanied by 2 supreme beings? The Golden Maiden was strolling here, but the ancient eyeball in her hand was a bit shocking. It was surrounded by chaotic chi. The eyeball seemed to have a life of its own, filled with an extremely terrifying aura. Under the projection of the chaotic eyeball, even the terrain was deciphered. This made Suyan pale. This was a heavenly eye of the great Tao. Even the owner of this eyeball was absolutely heaven-defying when he was alive. That was because the chaotic eyeball was like a small universe, filled with the order of the great Tao. No wonder they could enter. Suyan was scared. This thing was too precious. It could explore the mysteries of heaven and earth. That was why the Golden Maiden could enter unimpeded. Say, do Sundome and King Flash know her? Tensor muttered, finding it a bit inconceivable. Suyan couldn't say for sure. They were paying attention from the side and were hiding very deeply. If the chaotic eyeball were to project here, it could definitely penetrate their hiding place. The consequences would be serious then. After all, they had taken away 3 supreme treasures. As for Sundome and King Flash, these 2 dragons and phoenixes among men, they were existences that looked down on their peers. In front of the Golden Maiden, however, they were unusually enthusiastic. They revealed exaggerated smiles and kept talking to the Golden Maiden as if they were trying to worm their way into being friends. But the Golden Maiden was also indifferent. She had been patrolling this area all this time. Suyan didn't dare pay too much attention to the 3 of them, but he was always paying attention to their subordinates. The group of followers were all very powerful and had experienced hundreds of battles. There were even some outstanding women with great backgrounds. They were all proud daughters of heaven from some powerful races. They were very resentful. They admired Sundome and King Flash, but now these 2 were unusually enthusiastic about the Golden Maiden. They had thrown them to the back of their minds and even put down their grudges. What's the origin of this woman? Su Yin frowned. According to their understanding, the two sides were originally fighting because they had dug up a stalk of sacred medicine. But the Golden Maiden suddenly appeared, plucked the sacred medicine, and even ate it directly. The two supreme experts were furious at first, but the Golden Maiden's appearance made their hearts burn with passion. They even came to the conclusion that this woman's combat strength was peerlessly powerful and unfathomable. She was simply a female supreme expert whose name would shake the universe in the future. They put down their grudges and wanted to befriend her. In the process, they must have been more and more shocked. The Golden Maiden had the Chaos Eyeball and was walking on flat ground here. She had even broken into the Forbidden Land's ultimate area. "Young lady, are you looking for something?" Sundome had a smile on his face. He said with great momentum, "If you need any help, just let me know. I can borrow the sacred weapon of my race's almighty to open the way for you. I saw you nourishing your body with the sacred medicine. It said that there are divine medicines in the divine spirit mountains. My race also has divine medicines. If you're interested, you can come to my divine firmament star field as a guest," King Flash also said. Their words left their followers speechless. The Golden Maiden's appearance was peerless, and her figure was impressive. She was wearing golden armor. She stood between heaven and earth, indescribably noble. "It should be here." The Golden Maiden's golden eyes widened. A wisp of ancient fluctuation rippled out from her body. The Chaos Eyeball in her hand suddenly surged. The eyeball seemed to be alive. When it opened and closed, the order of the Great Tao filled the air. Under the illumination of the Chaos Eyeball, a corner of the world ahead trembled. A black mountain shattered without a sound. One could only imagine how shocking this eyeball of chaos was. However, the aura of the cracked world was even more desolate and ancient. A terrifying aura filled the air. The collapsed black mountain seemed to be dyed red with blood. The blood was colorful. There was black blood, golden blood, and even five-color blood. It was as if the layout had been opened and revealed its true form. All kinds of terrifying ancient blood gushed out and dyed the broken territory red. The aura it emitted made Sundome and King Flash's hair stand on end. They felt that the blood was too terrifying. It was as if it had a life of its own and was about to turn into the peerless and powerful giants when they were alive. Why do I feel that a group of almighty experts have fallen here? They were surprised and shocked. Something big must have happened in the divine spirit mountains in the last era of the universe. However, history was buried, and some truths were unknown to them. Chapter 554. The atmosphere here was oppressive to the extreme. The open domain revealed its true colors. In fact, this was the most dangerous domain. Once one entered rashly, they would definitely be eaten until not even their bones would be left. Tensor broke out in cold sweat. He originally wanted to go to the edge of the domain to explore. If he had really gone there just now, he would have ended up in a miserable state. The blood here was extremely terrifying. It seemed to be the blood of a powerhouse, and many of them were from giants. Even now, they were still steaming with terrifying, killing intent. What's the origin of this woman? Su Yin and Tensor were shocked. She seemed to know that this place was extraordinary. Now, she wanted to borrow the power of the Eye of Chaos to open the domain layout and reap the fortune inside. From the moment he met this Golden Maiden, Su Yin felt that she had a great origin. The divine spiritual mountain range had been sealed for an entire universe era, and it was only open now. Could she be a mysterious existence that had sealed herself for more than 100,000 years? What happened here back then? This is too inconceivable. Is this blood from a powerhouse? Yang Xiong's and Lightning King's subordinates cried out in alarm, their guts cracking. It was only a small amount of blood, but it contained an unbearable killing intent. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. Someone reminded, "Young master, this place is too dangerous. Don't trespass." Sundome and King Flash also looked solemn. The blood spilled in the outer region was terrifying enough. What was inside? They couldn't help but remind the Golden Maiden. Who knew what was hidden here? They had once experienced the Sea of Bones, so they were very afraid of the forbidden area of the divine spiritual mountain range. They were worried that something big would happen. However, the Golden Maiden's expression only changed slightly. She restrained her expression. She had a noble temperament. Her golden hair hung down to her waist, and the golden armor she wore was flowing with brilliant colors, outlining her perfect figure. She was actually walking towards the bleeding ancient land. Suyen, did you notice the problem? Tinser whispered, if this woman is really a being sealed on the ancient bronze tree in the last universe era, look at the golden armor she's wearing. It doesn't have the slightest bit of decay. This means that the value of this thing is definitely much greater than the 3 treasures we obtained. Not decaying even after hundreds of thousands of years. That's right, I overlooked it and didn't think too deeply about it. Suyin also nodded solemnly. Could this be a battle suit refined by a mighty figure? She could resist the aging of time. No matter what, they were very afraid of this woman. They wouldn't provoke her if they could. Boom! The moment she arrived at the blood-stained ancient lands, a corner of the ancient land lit up. All types of blood burned, releasing an even more bitter aura. It was as if they had life, turning into indistinct figures. Be careful. The sun dome was moved. This was a bit out of the ordinary. This blood actually had spirituality. Even after hundreds of thousands of years, it could still emit killing intent and attack the cultivators who entered this place. There was even a young expert who reached out his hand to grab a drop of 5-color blood. He felt that this blood was extremely special. Once he refined it, it would be extremely useful to him. Stop! King Flash berated, not wanting to rashly change the situation. However, it was already too late. The 5-colored blood burned with a resplendent light that overflowed into the heavens. It was like a mysterious 5-colored immortal blood, full of endless, terrifying energy. It gushed out with immortal light, piercing the expert who reached for the 5-colored blood and causing him to cry out miserably. His flesh exploded. He simply couldn't block the 5-colored blood's attack. This blood contained terrifying power, as if it was the blood of an immortal. Boom! The loud sound continued. The 5-colored blood was awakened from its slumber. It flowed through the void and crushed the void with its pressure. It was simply a prehistoric flood. This small drop of blood was extremely terrifying. It flowed along the void and crushed the heaven and earth until they trembled. Moreover, the more it rolled, the more terrifying the pervading aura became. The aura it emitted made their souls feel like they were about to split apart. King Flash's expression changed. He immediately took action to erase the 5-colored blood. Don't act rashly. However, the Golden Maiden's expression became cold. She shouted, maintain absolute respect for him and don't release killing intent. Otherwise, all of you will die here. What? King Flash felt as if he had been struck by lightning, but he still decisively stopped. Under such circumstances, they couldn't afford to show off their abilities. The group of cultivators restrained their killing intent and didn't dare to overstep their boundaries. The 5-color blood was still flowing. It was too special, like a drop of blood dropped by a prehistoric giant. It was overlooking this place and releasing its killing intent. The sun dome felt a headache coming on, as if he was being targeted by an invincible giant. King Flash broke out in cold sweat. This blood had a demonic nature that made them want to kneel on the ground and submit. What kind of existences were they? Even some remnant ancient blood could produce such thoughts. If the owner of this 5-color blood was really a powerful being, then it was rumored that a single drop of blood from a powerful being could crush a deity to death. Could it be understood that the 5-colored blood could be so powerful that it wouldn't stop until all of them were dead? They didn't dare to breathe loudly. This wasn't shameful at all. After all, this blood was suspected to be left behind by a powerful being. At the same time, they were puzzled. Which clan's blood did this belong to? They had never seen 5-colored blood before. However, The black blood on the side seemed to be the ancestral hall's blood. Could it be that the Hall of Daozu also had experts who went on a punitive expedition here? Some people felt that it was quite regretful. If the clan had experts holding the line, they could collect the blood and refine it. Perhaps they could extract a wisp of terrifying bloodline. Soon, the ancient land recovered its calm. This woman really has some skills. Suyin also didn't dare to breathe loudly. The Golden Maiden continued to go deeper, using the primal chaos eyeball to open a path. This eyeball was extremely astonishing. It could lock down a part of the world and dig out its original appearance. The buried environment was revealed bit by bit. This was an ancient land dyed in blood. It was brightly colored and filled with all kinds of prehistoric auras. Only heaven knew how many experts went on a punitive expedition here back then. The blood spilled by terrifying giants still maintained absolute power after so many years. I feel like the target is getting closer and closer. Suyan's breathing was heavy. He could sense some kind of calling coming from the depths of this ancient land. He was wondering if these experts were plotting to seize the Great Dao Mountain. If deities barged in here, who knows how many people would die? Would powerful experts be able to come and go as they pleased? Tensor muttered. Fortunately, their cultivation was weak and couldn't attract the attention of this prehistoric blood. As long as they didn't court death, things might not be too bad. Right now, they had only touched upon the tip of the iceberg. They followed a small, blood-dyed path and continuously approached it. However, the deeper they went, the more blood flowed out from the ancient land. It was extremely horrifying. This blood couldn't dry up even after countless years. It still retained its vitality. Even an existence like the Sun Dome was extremely vigilant. This place was too dangerous. If they acted recklessly, they definitely wouldn't be able to leave. I keep feeling like this woman is looking for something, Suyin said inwardly. They followed these people closely, not daring to get too close. I discovered a problem. There are no heavenly treasures here, Tensor said softly. Could it be because the layout is special? It's hard to say. Normally speaking, this type of territory would definitely produce extraordinary things, Suyin said with a sunken voice. Let's wait and see. I don't know what she's trying to do. The primal chaos eye continuously shone, covering expanse after expanse of territory, flattening the Black Mountains. However, the blood-dyed ancient land that was revealed this time was exceptionally terrifying. All types of terrifying bloody lights surged, resplendent and overflowing into the heavens. Heavens! Many people cried out in alarm, feeling that this was inconceivable. It was as if a concentrated sea of blood had opened. A divine phoenix spread its wings and flew about, overlooking the heavens. It was full of unmatched supreme might. There was even a true dragon that soared into the sky. A true dragon whose entire body was scarlet red like blood emitted the might of an archaic dragon. It overlooked the 8 desolate lands as if it was a real dragon. Its might was indescribable. They were all stupefied. This was the blood of a true dragon and true phoenix, the blood of these 2 great supreme being races. It was scattered here, and after experiencing endless time, it now erupted with world-shaking heavenly might. There was still extremely terrifying energy remaining. Just how powerful were these creatures to be able to maintain this kind of bloodline energy after countless years? They had never even heard of such supreme existences in the universe. Even the demon realm didn't have true dragons and true phoenixes. Perhaps there were such supreme giants in the primal chaos ruins, but that was only limited to legends. But now they saw it. The real thing was right in front of them, rushing into the heavens. Moreover, this wasn't all. This time, the blood-dyed ancient land opened by the Golden Maiden was like an ominous land where blood flowed through eternity. All types of light beams rushed up, and for a moment, groups of demons were in chaos. It was an astonishing scene. There were bloodlines that weren't inferior to true dragons and true phoenixes. There were also some human race experts who were once indomitable and whose magical power overflowed into the heavens. Their blood was also extremely terrifying, able to compete with the true dragon and true phoenix bloodlines. Even after countless years, they could still retain their freshness. Sundome and the others were all envious. If they could capture all of these bloodlines in one fell swoop, it would be a terrifying treasury. But this was simply impossible. Who would dare to rashly touch these ancient bloodlines? Perhaps there would be some hope if a powerful expert came. Suyin was also envious. If he could obtain these ancient bloodlines, perhaps he could activate his 9-colored blood divine treasury a step further. But even if he obtained these ancient bloodlines, just the energy contained within them from when they were alive was definitely not something Suyin could refine. He would definitely suffer a backlash. The path is cut off, Suyin observed. His goal was the Great Dao Mountain, but he didn't know if this woman's goal was also there. Now that the path was cut off, they couldn't continue charging in. That was because the layout ahead was too terrifying. Gods and demons were dancing chaotically, and terrifying auras pervaded the air. Boom! When this type of demonic and divine chi was activated to the extreme, the heaven and earth finally changed color. It was as if a prehistoric storm was crushing down, causing this blood-dyed ancient land to collapse. The large crack was very deep, and even more blood gushed out. This was simply a purgatory below, and an extraordinary existence had been buried here. Only, within the collapsing ancient land, a terrifying radiance suddenly surged out. Not to mention these followers, even Sundome and the others were trembling. Even the Golden Maiden was frightened. This was a strand of fluctuation that could suppress eternity. It actually looked quite calm, and no one knew where it flowed out from. When it reached this place, the chaotic, demonic, and divine state was broken, because everything had surrendered. Chapter 555. The blood-soaked ancient land collapsed. All of the demonic gods' phantoms became dim and lightless. It was as if they had met the master of their lives, not daring to cross the line in the slightest. They were scared stiff. What kind of situation was this? Could it be that there was another type of ancient blood even more terrifying than these that was about to appear? However, the true phoenix and true dragon were already powerful enough. What kind of bloodline could suppress them? The conclusion made them all pale in fright. Within the blood-soaked ancient land, it became faintly clearer. There was a figure sitting cross-legged inside. Even though he was clearly sitting inside, it was still difficult to see his specific appearance. Only a vague outline could be seen. This person was too astonishing. Suyin felt that he had seen him clearly, but he soon forgot. This made him horrified. Just how terrifying of an existence was this? He couldn't even remember his appearance. It was to the extent that he looked calm and peaceful, like a banished immortal sitting cross-legged within the blood-soaked ancient land. In this special environment where blood flowed for eternity without drying up, he was like a banished immortal that had fallen into hell. It was as if he didn't exist in this world and was sitting cross-legged in another universe. Even though he looked ordinary, his existence made heaven and earth lose color. Gods wept and ghosts wept. He was actually full of an aura that could crush eternity. People couldn't help but want to prostrate themselves in worship. Plop! The group of cultivators all knelt down. They seemed to have lost their will and couldn't control their actions at all. They knelt down and kowtowed in worship. When they woke up, they didn't feel ashamed. This kind of character was worthy of worship. Oh my God, what kind of giant is this? This is too frightening. Sundome and King Flash almost knelt down and kowtowed. Tensor's scalp went numb. Perhaps they had met this person before in the environment of the ancient bronze tree. However, they felt that this giant's aura was too different from his own. This person was just sitting here, yet his aura was enough to suppress eternity. He could change the universe's general situation with a wave of his hand. Suyin felt a headache coming on. The waters of the divine spiritual mountain range were too deep. This should be the place where the divine king came to stake his life. Perhaps some shocking secrets could be dug out one day in the future. The Golden Maiden's emotions surged. She could faintly see this person's appearance through the eyes of primal chaos. He looked very ordinary, like an immortal in white robes. His Tao aura was natural. However, he was filled with the aura of a great Tao ruler within his calmness. Even the true dragon and other heaven-defying ancient blood shadows couldn't help but tremble. It was as if they had experienced his terrifying degree. The blood-soaked ancient land was silent. No one dared to act. This situation did not last for too long, and the mysterious shadow quickly dispersed. This seemed to be just a strand of his imprint, and not a unique type of blood. It slowly disappeared, and finally calmed down. Even though he disappeared, the crawling and trembling blood of all creatures still didn't dare to act out. There were some things that were terrifying, engraved into their bones and blood, making them feel intimidated. The eyes of Yang Qiong and the others lit up. This might be an opportunity. There might be some treasures hidden here. Otherwise, why would the Golden Maiden come here? What is that? They all cried out in alarm. They saw a hazy, immortal splendor, shining substance within the collapsed ancient land. This substance looked extremely unique. It was full of bumps and hollows, as if it was a treasure that hadn't been completely nurtured within the great earth. This strange substance was shining. It devoured the essence from all directions. It was to the extent where, during the process of its absorption, many ancient blood were ignited. It was extremely strange. These ancient blood seemed to have been reduced to nourishment, absorbed by this strange substance. It seemed to be stealing the ancient blood's nutrients to accelerate its growth. What kind of treasure is this? King Flash and the others' large eyes became red. This strange substance had absorbed the essence of ancient blood and even the essence of heaven and earth. It had been nurtured for who knew how many years, yet it still hadn't matured. Regardless of whether it was fully matured or not, one could easily imagine how terrifying this thing's value was. Even great experts would fight over it with everything they had. After all, these ancient blood essences were all priceless items. Only heaven knew just how much of heaven and earth's natural luck substance it had absorbed. The Golden Maiden's eyes were blazing with golden radiance. Her jade-like hands were clenched tightly. She was trembling slightly due to her excitement. If this thing were spread, she couldn't imagine what kind of terrifying and bloody events would erupt. The value of this thing couldn't be measured by money at all. Perhaps it could affect the rise and fall of groups in the long river of time. Swoosh! Sun Dome's subordinate generals made a private decision to seize this saponified substance. Although it was the Golden Maiden who brought them in, the value of this item was enough to turn them against each other. Sun Dome's expression sank slightly. He didn't expect a general to charge forward. Humph! The Golden Maiden didn't stop him. Instead, she let out a cold snort. How could an ordinary person touch this thing? This general who charged forward was definitely powerful. He had just made a move when he constructed a great Tao domain. He first had to suppress this natural luck substance, and then take it away. However, the moment his aura pervaded the natural luck substance, this natural luck substance, surrounded by immortal splendor, seemed to be enraged. It seethed with snow-white, immortal light. This beam of light was astonishingly fast. It was a kind of indiscriminate attack. It ruthlessly struck the body of the cultivator who was spying on it, turning him into a bloody mist. Bastard! Sun Dome flew into a rage. This was an outstanding general under his command, and he actually died like this. He angrily rebuked. Who let him do it? Without my order, none of you should act rashly. King Flash sneered. If Sun Dome had stopped him just now, he might not have lost a general. Now, he had offended the Golden Maiden. The Golden Maiden seemed to have not heard Sun Dome's words. She began to walk gracefully towards the natural luck substance. This scene made Sun Dome and King Flash struggle in their hearts. They even looked at each other. They wanted to take such a great opportunity for themselves, but they didn't know what would happen next. Who would be willing to give it up like this? They gritted their teeth. They even wanted to forcefully take action and seize the natural luck substance. Boom! The space behind them trembled. An expanse of darkness suddenly pressed down. It even raised a palm and threw out a large formation. It descended from the sky and revealed a monstrous, ominous aura. It sealed this area in an instant. The Golden Maiden's expression sank. She didn't notice anyone following her. Even Su Yin and Tensor were shocked. At first, Tensor thought it was Su Yin who did it. In the end, it wasn't Su Yin at all. There was a second person following them. He made a move at the critical moment and brought out a large formation. "You're courting death." Sundome and King Flash were shocked and furious. Someone dared to scheme against them. Who was so bold? The large formation revealed a terrifying aura and sealed the sky. The power of this formation was extremely terrifying. It pressed down on this area like thousands of mountains arranged in the sky, sealing this area tightly. Who is this person? What a powerful aura. Su Yin stared at the shadow in the darkness. He hit his figure and arrived in front of the natural lux substance at an extremely fast speed. Should we make a move? Tensor couldn't hold it in anymore. Su Yin calmed down and said, "Even if we seize it, it will be difficult to kill our way out. Let's wait a little longer." First, the large formation trembled. It couldn't seal the three of them for long. The shadow in the darkness waved his palm. There was an ancient bottle in his palm. It flowed with colorful lights and spewed out the light of the Great Tao. This was a Great Tao treasure bottle. It could store rivers and mountains. Its effect was quite special. A spatial treasure like this was quite rare. The person who made a move directly took out the Great Tao treasure bottle and began to devour the natural lux substance. Bang! However, just as the Great Tao treasure bottle absorbed the natural lux substance, it exploded. A cry of surprise came from the darkness. That was a rare spatial treasure. Seeing that the large formation was about to explode, he made a move again. He took out another treasure and began to fill it with the natural lux substance. However, no matter how strong the treasure he took out was, the natural lux substance was extremely shocking. It was very difficult for him to take it away. This made the person in the darkness go berserk. He took out a mortal weapon without any fluctuations of divine power and filled it with the natural lux substance. The person in the darkness was speechless. The mortal weapon succeeded and took away the natural lux substance. However, he didn't understand. Why was it that the stronger the weapon, the harder it was to touch it? However, he realized that even if the mortal weapon took it away, it was very difficult to fill it with storage space. Bang! At this moment, the large formation that covered the sky exploded. The two peak powerhouses, Sundome and King Flash, rushed out. They were roaring in anger. They were really angry. Someone dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth under their noses. They didn't put them in their eyes at all. Kill! The two powerhouses rushed over like lightning. The aura they released could be said to be the awakening of two supreme gods. The moment the terrifying fluctuations descended from the sky, the darkness exploded. Bang! The shadow in the darkness rushed out. Wrapped in black clouds, he channeled his strongest power to resist Sundome and King Flash. However, in the face of the ultimate killing power of these peak existences, this person was shaken to the point of trembling all over. His flesh felt like it was about to split apart. Roar! However, the shadow in the darkness roared. A divine phoenix soared behind him, and his aura became much stronger. He resisted the power of the two peak powerhouses. However, Sundome and King Flash were too strong. No matter how strong this person was, he couldn't fight against the two supreme beings of the star domain. However, what made them change their expressions was that the true Phoenix's ancient blood was burning and converging on the shadow. What? King Flash and Sundome's expressions turned ugly because the infusion of the ancient blood had caused the shadow's aura to soar. This wasn't his power, but the remnant energy of the ancient blood. It was very terrifying and could defeat the two powerhouses in a single exchange. It was also at this moment that the Golden Maiden rushed over. Her lily-white hand rose and split open the sky. Her aura was in no way inferior to Sundome and King Flash. The three peak existences had joined forces. Even the Golden Maiden wanted to use the Eye of Primal Chaos to obliterate this person. However, she was worried that the Eye of Primal Chaos would startle the substance of fortune. The four powerhouses erupted into a great battle. The three powerhouses besieged one person. In a short period of time, they collided, and the energy beams of various races recovered. Kill! The shadow roared. He couldn't give up the fortune so easily. He wanted to kill his way out. However, the three powerhouses had sealed him tightly. Moreover, the energy of the true Phoenix's ancient blood couldn't be maintained for too long and would dissipate completely. Even in such a situation, it was difficult for the supreme beings to kill their way out. Chapter 556. Three powerhouses besieging one person. Even if the Black Shadow had the help of the mysterious ancient blood, it was enough to look down on his peers. However, he wouldn't be able to hold on for too long. Once he lost the energy of the ancient Phoenix blood, he would definitely be in danger of dying. However, just as the battle between the four powerhouses had reached a very intense level, Su Yin quietly crept up. He used the yin-yang compass to guard the space, waved his fist, and activated the Fist of Time. The Fist of Time had the special ability to attack indiscriminately. It could even attack without them noticing. Su Yin felt that as long as he could destroy the mortal artifact in the Black Shadow's hand, he could take it away. Although the risk was a little high, Su Yin was still confident. This punch was fast, accurate, and ruthless. When the Fist of Time appeared, the four powerhouses were furious. Even the Golden Maiden's face darkened. It was fine if there was a cultivator spying in the dark, but now there was another one. Who did he think they were? A bunch of paper tigers? However, the aura of the powerhouse who attacked made them a little shocked. The main reason was that Su Yan's movements were too fast and accurate. The Fist of Time he swung out instantly struck the Black Shadow's arm. This punch landed solidly on it, making a dull sound. This person's physical body was extremely strong, but in the face of Su Yan's peak attack, his arm was about to be broken. He let out a muffled groan as blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His body staggered, and he almost fell to the ground. The mortal artifact he was holding flew out of his hand and into the sky. Boom! The place was in an uproar. All kinds of divine light shot out in all directions as great divine abilities were activated. The three powerhouses suddenly rushed into the sky, wanting to snatch the mortal artifact away. None of them wanted to give it up, and it was impossible for them to give it to the Golden Maiden. The Golden Maiden's golden hair fluttered in the wind, and her golden pupils emitted lightning. She activated the Eye of Chaos, wanting to suppress King Flash and the other two before taking away the creation substance. However, just as they rushed up, the Golden Maiden's face suddenly sank. She stabilized her body, and the Eye of Chaos projected light in front of her. She found a blurry shadow in front of her that was rapidly disappearing. Not good. The faces of Sun Dome and the others changed in anger. Only when they got close to the mortal weapon did they realize that it was just an illusion. They were flustered and exasperated. They were the first group to barge in, yet there were two groups of people spying on them from the shadows, trying to snatch food from the tiger's mouth right in front of them. Wasn't this a little too bold? They were the supreme beings of two great star fields, so who would dare to make a move in front of them? Just now, Su Yin had even swapped the mortal weapon. When the Time Fist hit the Black Shadow, Su Yin had used the special power of the yin-yang compass to create a field. He had swapped the fake for the real and directly stole the mortal weapon. The expert who came out of the darkness was also flustered and exasperated. He did not realize that there was someone lurking behind the scenes, who had taken action at the crucial moment and seized the creation substance. Chase after him. How could Sun Dome and the others give up? Although they didn't know what kind of treasure the good fortune substance was, they felt that its value was definitely beyond their imagination. They definitely couldn't let the other party take it away so easily. You can't escape. The four experts actually joined forces and chased after him from the depths. It had to be said that the Eye of Primal Chaos was powerful. It had locked onto Su Yan's tracks and was rapidly rushing towards them. It was also at this moment, in the space locked onto by the Eye of Primal Chaos, abnormally bright saber lights suddenly awakened. One after another, each of them was extremely resplendent. Tensor stood out. In his peak state, He crazily swung the black saber over 100 times. Every time he swung it, he would use his strongest domain and unleash the most terrifying energy. After swinging the saber over 100 times, Tensor was so tired that he was paralyzed in the space. This was because he had exhausted all of his energy and used up all of his energy to create an extremely terrifying killing intent that blocked the path of the four experts. Boom! Tensor's strongest power, coupled with this great killing weapon, could be imagined how powerful it was. Boundless saber lights swept over and combined together, turning into a sea of saber lights that was enough to split open the sky. It surged forward and smashed towards the four experts. Motherf ** Kerr. King Flash cursed. He was holding back so much in his heart that he almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Motherf * Kerr accomplices? What kind of situation was this? This attack was so powerful that it made them feel threatened. Tensor was completely going all out and used up all of his energy. There was no need to say much about the killing intent that was produced. This explosion caused a great rupture in the void and seemed to have cut off their path of retreat. You can't escape. If I find out who you are, I'll wipe out your entire family. King Flash spoke fiercely. He was furious. Two extremely powerful characters were blocking their path and didn't take them seriously at all. How preposterous! Kill them all and kill them. The four experts were burning with rage. Their roars shook the rivers and mountains as they madly rushed out from the blood-soaked ancient land. Even if Tensor was powerful, his killing intent couldn't stop the four experts for long. Let's go! Su Yin frantically crossed over and snatched the item from the four experts. His fate would be very miserable once he was blocked by them. This was snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Ha ha! Tensor laughed excitedly. Although they didn't know what they had snatched, a treasure that the Golden Maiden was after was certainly extraordinary. It was definitely more astonishing than the 3 treasures they had obtained. With Su Yan's speed, he would soon disappear without a trace once he broke free from the eye of primal chaos lock. He was like a dragon returning to the sea as he roamed the various great forbidden lands and broke away from their pursuit with the help of the special topography. Su Yan didn't dare to stay here for long. He wanted to leave the Forbidden Land. He had found the location of the Great Dow Mountain, but it was too difficult to kill his way in. This matter needed to be discussed at length. He was prepared to wait for Bao Kai to finish his cultivation and for Yi Yuan and the Cosmic Beast King to break through. At that time, they would join forces to kill their way in and try to open the Ultimate Land. What exactly is the treasure inside? Tensor opened the mortal artifact and saw the substance of creation floating in the mortal artifact. It was hazy with a mortal splendor and looked very mysterious. He couldn't sense any strong embodiment of it. Why does it look like a special seed? Su Yin was astonished as he carefully observed the substance of creation. He couldn't see through it with his primordial spirit at all. This made him apprehensive. This thing was hidden too deeply, and they couldn't see through it at all with their cultivation. It was so special that it was extremely difficult to store treasures in it. That's true. It really does look like a seed of creation. Maybe this is a treasure that only important people have a right to use. The thing we took away must be very important and will be of great help to them. Tensor also nodded. He couldn't see through the specifics of this item. He took out some spatial treasures and tried to see if he could store the seed of creation inside, but he failed. This is troublesome. If we can only use mortal artifacts to store it, we can't keep holding on to it. Tensor frowned. Unless they put it in their cave abode. Su Yin scratched his head. He didn't know if he could use the broken cauldron to store it. The broken cauldron shouldn't be destroyed, right? Back then, it could even resist the demonic fog. Su Yin thought for a while, then gritted his teeth and started to try. After all, there would be a big problem if he kept carrying this thing on him. He directly took out the broken cauldron and put the mortal artifacts inside. At the same time, Su Yin watched nervously. He was really worried that something would happen to the broken cauldron or that it would be damaged. He watched for a while, then slowly let out a sigh of relief. The broken cauldron was completely fine. I wonder who that person is? His battle prowess is extremely strong. and he even obtained the energy of the ancient blood of the true phoenix. Su Yin looked at Tensor and said, "Who do you think he is?" "I think you've guessed it too." Tensor frowned, then said solemnly, "Maybe it's really Shueguan." Just now, the ancient blood of the true phoenix suddenly gathered in his body. Maybe it's a special physique that triggered the ancient blood of the true phoenix. If it wasn't for Shueguan, I really wouldn't know that there are people with the physique of the true phoenix in the universe. Su Yan's heart was heavy. If that person was really Shueguan, he definitely didn't use his full strength. He had two supreme physiques, and just now, he had only used one of them. Could it be that the current Shueguan is stronger than Sun Dome and King Flash? Su Yin was a little shocked. Where exactly did he go to prove his Tao? Shueguan has already disappeared for a few years and has always been hiding in the Divine Spirit Mountain range. I reckon that it's most likely him. It can't be wrong. Let's not think about this now. Let's hurry up and leave. The Forbidden Area is definitely going to be chaotic. Tensor was a little troubled. They had snatched food from the tiger's mouth from the four great experts. In fact, they weren't afraid of King Flash and Sun Dome, but they were afraid of the Golden Maiden. This woman's background was a little scary, so they had to be careful. Su Yin was very fast. He had already familiarized himself with the Forbidden Area. He crossed all the way and soon arrived at the outer region of the Forbidden Area. Now, in the depths of the Forbidden Area, all kinds of terrifying killing intent were constantly transmitted. Whether it was Sun Dome or King Flash, they were mad. They stole and ran away, and no trace of them could be found. This person was too familiar with the Forbidden Area. What's going on? Look, oh my God, the supreme experts of the two-star fields have gone crazy. Who can tell me what's going on? Who angered the supreme experts of the two-star fields? They're really not afraid of trouble. The creatures passing by were all shocked when they saw the supreme experts of the two-star fields emitting monstrous anger. They couldn't help but release the power of the origin of the great Tao, causing the mountains and rivers within tens of thousands of miles to tremble. Many mountains even exploded. It was a terrifying scene. Earth and stone collapsed between heaven and earth as killing intent filled the air. When a woman in golden armor rushed over, the earth trembled even more violently. This was a golden maiden who wasn't inferior to the supreme experts of the two-star fields. Her golden eyes were emitting killing intent. Now, she really wanted to say, "Do you know what you've stolen? Do you know how much karma you've been infected with? Who is that woman? What a beautiful woman. How come I've never seen this peerless beauty before?" Someone stared blankly at the golden maiden in a daze, absent-minded. Her fighting strength seems so powerful. Which race is she from? Why do I feel that this peerless beauty's aura isn't inferior to the supreme experts of the two-star fields? The spectators here were all endlessly shocked. Many of them felt that this was inconceivable. A female supreme expert who suddenly rose up, she appeared out of nowhere. This matter was extremely shocking. If news of this spread, it would shake all the great races in the vast cosmos. The three were filled with anger as they searched for Su Yan's traces in the mountains. In fact, they already knew that they couldn't find him. They only had a trace of hope in their hearts that they could dig out this great thief. What exactly happened? This matter spread like wildfire. Not long after, news came out that made people speechless. This news was leaked by their subordinates. Did the great thief make his move? This time, we're robbing them directly. Many people were stupefied. When they learned of this matter, the first thing they thought of was the great thief. What great thief? King Flash and Sun Dome's expressions were gloomy. Even they didn't know who the other party was, but when they saw the expressions of the people around them, it seemed like they knew who did it. What did you say? Two-star field supreme experts also had their treasures stolen? Chapter 557. Big news. The Great Bandits have struck again. This time, their targets are King Flash and Sun Dome. Apparently, the Great Bandits have stolen an incredible treasure from their hands. The Purple Jade King arranged for people to spread the news and create momentum. He wanted to make Su Yin the scapegoat. This matter concerned the supreme beings of a star domain. Once the news got out, it would cause a huge commotion. Many cultivators simply didn't believe that even experts like Yang Xiong and the Lightning King had been robbed by the Great Bandits. This was too much of a praise for the Great Bandits. Those were the supreme experts of 2 great star domains, plus a mysterious golden woman. The impact of this matter was intense. It spread like wildfire. Some people gasped after receiving confirmation. This was truly heaven-defying. Even the Great Bandits dared to steal from them. They couldn't help but be shocked. This also showed that the Great Bandits were strong enough. Looking at the entire divine spiritual mountain range, those with such strength were few and far between. King Flash and the others, who were in a fit of anger, had strange expressions after receiving this news. They didn't even know who had done it. In the end, most people were certain that it was Su Yan. Even the Purple Jade King and Dragon Snake, who were in the same boat, insisted that it was definitely Su Yan who had done it. They even had evidence to back up their claims. After all, Su Yan had a supreme being by his side. It was too fitting for a great bandit group. In truth, King Flash and Sun Dome didn't quite believe it. They didn't think that a rising star like Su Yan had the ability to steal the treasure at lightning speed and even retreat unscathed. They didn't even think that Su Yan had the guts to do so. They would rather believe that it was a supreme being from another peak power who had come to the divine spiritual mountain range to do it than believe that it was Su Yan who had done it. This was a matter of face, but the matter of fortune was even more important. It had devoured the energy of all kinds of ancient blood. Who knew what domain it belonged to? They had no choice but to keep an eye on Su Yan. Su Yan, I'll give you 10 days. Come here and explain everything clearly. Sun Dome spoke. His entire body exuded a domineering aura. Sun spun behind him and covered the sky. They shook the mountains and rivers as they descended. They were about to burn thousands of miles of territory. The surging, blazing fluctuations made all creatures feel like they were about to be incinerated. Sun Dome was too powerful. His majestic and domineering. He possessed an invincible deterrence. Come. His voice had a penetrating power, spreading throughout the boundless mountains and rivers, exploding in the ears of the various experts. This caused them to turn pale one after another. These words were too domineering, asking Su Yan to come over and explain the problem. Sun Dome was very decisive. Since he couldn't think clearly, he would ask Su Yan to come and explain everything. This was also a form of contempt for Su Yan. After all, Su Yan had already killed his way to the peak domain and was known as one of the young giants of the divine spiritual mountain range. However, Sun Dome had asked him to come and explain. If Su Yan didn't come, he would definitely offend Sun Dome. If he came, his prestige would be swept to the ground. Madman Su won't come. Some of Su Yan's admirers sneered. Sun Dome is a supreme being, but Madman Su is a peak existence who suppressed Yin-Xian. Sun Dome has spoken so domineeringly. How can Madman Su come? What a joke. If he doesn't come, he'll be courting death. Since Yang Xiong has already spoken, he must also represent the Lightning King's will. 2 great stellar regions have asked him to come and explain the situation. How dare he not come? Someone sneered. Su Yan has enough enemies. The dark underworld race, the ancestral hall, and the demon realm. If he offends Sun Dome and King Flash, it's equivalent to offending half the universe. How can Su Yan not understand the severity of the problem? Just wait and see. Su Yan will definitely come obediently and explain everything. Nonsense. Madman, Su has his own pride. Sun Dome and King Flash are nothing. Even Yin-Xian, who is at the same level as them, was suppressed by Madman Su. If it wasn't for Madman Su leaving them some face, those 2 would be finished. Someone purposely spoke with malicious intentions. His voice was so loud that it spread in all directions. It even fell into the ears of Sun Dome and King Flash. Their faces were gloomy. Although they wouldn't be easily angered by these words, they felt that Su Yan had been in the limelight for the past few years. Some people even compared Su Yan to the 2 of them, gauging the strength and weakness. This annoyed the 2-star domain supremes. How could a monkey that came out of nowhere compare to them? We should suppress Su Yan's momentum. The whole world is talking about Su Yan now. An expert from the Nine Yang sect said with a cold face. This was supposed to be the place where Sun Dome and King Flash ruled. What was the matter with the family of a loser? As far as they knew, the Burial Realm clan was already on the verge of collapse. Su Yan's identity, status, and even battle prowess were hard to compare with Sun Dome and King Flash. Su Yan, who had been dormant for a year, was once again pushed to the heart of the storm. The Purple Jade King and the others added fuel to the fire. During this time, experts from the Dark Underworld clan came out frequently and asked Su Yan to come out and explain everything. They said that even a powerful dragon had to bow down in front of the Peak clans. They asked Su Yan to behave himself in the Godly Mountain range and not go overboard. At this moment, Su Yan had already arrived at Ominous Land number 6. Ever since Su Yan disappeared, Ominous Land number 6 was often visited by bold people. After all, the news of the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians was leaked. Although it was rumored that the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians were severely damaged, some people still had their eyes on the Remnant Meridians. If it wasn't for Su Yan's current prestige, they would have made a big move already. However, after many visits, they couldn't find any trace of the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians. After a long time, they gave up on this matter. Su Yan naturally set up many methods here. Even a formation master couldn't find it. Chi Gao lost his Yin Yang compass and couldn't find any trace of the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians. Su Yan went all the way into the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians. The energy in the Remnant Meridians had been greatly depleted and was about to dissipate completely. The main reason was that some disciples had come to cultivate Xing Jingfu and Xiao when we're in seclusion here, absorbing the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians day and night. The Astral Beast King has broken through. Xiaoan was awakened by Su Yan. He received news that the Astral Beast King had reached the Great Tao and jumped into the realm of experts. She had gone out to train. Teacher Yi Yuan is also about to break through. Su Yan looked at Yi Yuan. His treasure body was like a rising red sun, drawing on the power of the blood essence in his body. The fluctuations he emitted were becoming more and more astonishing. The space behind him was even distorted, and a human figure appeared. It was like a majestic and imposing existence was drawing a bow to shoot the sun. This was the power of Yi Yuan's bloodline. His bloodline was extremely strong, and in addition to his cultivation day and night, Yi Yuan was already half a step into the Great Tao realm. Shaolin was very shocked. He felt that Yi Yuan's potential was too strong. Once he stepped into the Great Tao realm, it would be truly amazing. However, Shaolin still felt that the Tai Baokai had many transformations. Its aura would often change, as if it had turned into a different kind of life form. The Tai Baokai had been sleeping for a year, constantly mixing with the banners of demons. It was unknown how long it would be in seclusion. Su Yan was still thinking about Tai Baokai. This guy had been sleeping for too long, and it seemed to have undergone an incredible transformation. Even now, it was still in a state of hibernation. He didn't stay here for long and quickly left the Yin Yang Remnant Meridians. Sun Dome and King Flash have their eyes on you. They want to make an example out of you. They have suffered too great a loss, so they will definitely investigate to the end. Tensor had inquired about a lot of information. Now that the outside world was in an uproar, the Dark Underworld race really hoped that Sun Dome and King Flash would make a move. With their battle prowess, they would definitely be able to suppress Su Yan. However, Su Yan wasn't someone to be trifled with. Although the race of the Burial region had declined to the extreme, it wasn't a lie that there were great beings in this race. They really didn't need to make an enemy out of Su Yan. However, if it was really Su Yan who had stolen the treasure, they definitely wouldn't be soft-hearted and would directly make a move. They wanted to go over and explain the problem. Su Yan snorted coldly. They're really arrogant. They really think I'm a pushover. We have to be careful. Tensor was a little worried. If these two insisted on making a move, the consequences would be troublesome. Don't worry. If they really dare to come, they can't do anything to me. Su Yan didn't care. Just his identity as an occult master was not to be trifled with. Moreover, with the power of the Yin Yang compass, he could set up a killing trap of heaven and earth. Su Yan really wasn't afraid of Star Domain Supremes. Soon, he returned to the resource site in Hokuto. In the past year, the ancient starry sky world had changed a lot. The internal divine power had been severely depleted. After all, Su Yin had set up such a trap, which was equivalent to wasting the potential of the starry sky world. However, time waited for no one. Only God knew what would happen in the divine mountain range in the future. These days, some young powerhouses had been born in Hokuto. The 72 Big Dippers were reassembled, and their defense was extremely strong. Hokuto also had a strong foundation. Su Yin, come quickly. A group of elders called out to Su Yin. What surprised him was that Star Element had come. He was a veteran powerhouse who was about to become a deity. Although he was older, his combat strength was extremely strong. His mastery of Tao and techniques had reached the pinnacle. Grand Elder. Su Yin went up to greet him. Su Yin, make a long story short. Star Element smiled. He shook his sleeves, and 2 jade jars flew out. He said, these 2 things are for you. You've contributed too much to Hokuto during this period of time. We also have to show our appreciation. Su Yin opened the jade jars. A large light rain gushed out from the jars, and drops of purple liquid glowed. Each drop of purple liquid was like a star, brilliant and dazzling. Great Tao Evolution Elixir. Su Yin was moved. This was the Great Tao Evolution liquid he longed for. These 2 jars were already a huge sum. He had asked Zi Xioning to pay a huge price to buy it, but the other party hadn't been able to get it. That's right. Although we know these 2 jars aren't enough for you, we can only take out a limited amount. This thing is too rare. The Grand Elder sighed. Hokuto had already lost its peak foundation. As time passed, its peak foundation became fewer and fewer. They couldn't take out much Great Tao Evolution liquid. This is already very important to me. I won't stand on ceremony. Su Yin didn't argue and directly accepted it. Star Element smiled and said, this is what the Star Lord found in the Big Dipper. There isn't much of it. After all, the Big Dipper was the most powerful ancient star with life. It could nurture some Great Tao Evolution liquid, but the amount was limited. While Tensor was envious, Star Element took out another jar and said with a smile, Tensor, you've helped our Big Dipper bloodline many times. I'll give this jar of Great Tao Evolution liquid to you. This. Tensor quickly shook his head and said, I can't accept it. This thing is too precious. Haha, Tensor, don't stand on ceremony. Take it quickly. Our Hokuto won't mistreat experts who have helped our sect. Star Element smiled. He was the supreme physique of the Big Dipper. If he matured in the future, it would be a good thing for Hokuto. They intended to befriend him. Tensor chuckled. He was in urgent need of this thing. Even if it was just a jar, it would be of great help to him. Star Element didn't stay for long. He stood up and was about to leave. Su Yin urged him to stay and said, Great Elder, I've dug out some treasured lands. You could take a look around. Elder Xiaoyi walked over and said, Su Yin, you still don't know. Great Elder has comprehended something in the ancient starry sky world. It's very likely that he's about to break through. I see. Congratulations, Great Elder. Su Yin and Tensor were both moved and stood up to congratulate him. This was a big matter even for Hokuto. After all, Bamboo Moon and Great Elder had both stepped into the realm of the gods. This was undoubtedly a sign of prosperity. It won't be too late to thank me after I break through. Star Element laughed heartily and disappeared from the ancient starry sky world. He was prepared to return to Hokuto to begin his breakthrough. Su Yin sat down cross-legged and drank the Great Tao Evolution liquid. The group of elders stared with their eyes wide open. They didn't expect Su Yin to be so ferocious. He directly swallowed 2 jars of Great Tao Evolution liquid. Su Yin's blood was trembling with excitement. An evolution had begun just like that. These 2 jars of Great Tao Evolution liquid were too important to Su Yin. They could further perfect the body as a universe. Chapter 558. After drinking the 2 jars of Great Tao Evolution fluid, Su Yin's body shone brightly, and his pores emitted the light of the Great Tao. Although there were only 2 jars of Great Tao Evolution fluid, this thing couldn't be bought with money. Zi Xiaoning had been begging for Su Yin for a long time, but she couldn't even buy a single jar. This showed how precious this thing was. Without a doubt, this was a treasure on the same level as the Saint-Grade Origin Serum. The moment Su Yin swallowed the great Tao evolution fluid, his body was awakened, as if a magnificent universe prison was born. His limbs and bones vibrated with the profoundness of the universe. In the initial state of all things in the human body, a unique domain world evolved. Now, under the baptism of the great Tao evolution fluid, his body shone brightly and was sparkling. This was a baptism, and his entire body continued to become terrifying. This was a kind of evolution, a kind of abnormal improvement. How can this be? The group of elders who were paying attention were stunned. What was going on? They felt that Su Yin was like eating a ginseng fruit, and his battle strength was increasing at an abnormal speed. This was a kind of process of condensing the body of the great Tao when one had just stepped into the great Tao realm. Everyone knew that during this process, one's strength would increase rapidly. However, Su Yin seemed to be going through this process. His body was baptized and nourished by the great Tao, and soon it was filled with a terrifying energy radiance. The improvement continued. A young disciple said in shock, "Eldest senior brother is too strong. He can still improve so rapidly after cultivating to this level." People outside say that eldest senior brother is inferior to Sun Dome and King Flash, but I think eldest senior brother is even more abnormal than them. He will definitely become a supreme being in the future. The group of elders was speechless. They didn't think that Su Yin was inferior to Sun Dome and King Flash, but how terrifying was a supreme being in the heavens. Every one of them stood at the peak, suppressing young giants who were invincible in the same realm. They were young experts who were so glorious that their names shook the entire universe. They could be called supreme beings in the heavens, and millions of young Ingjia looked up to them. I wonder how powerful Su Yin will be after he returns to the Big Dipper constellation and obtains the Great Path brand of the Big Dipper constellation. An elder sighed and said, "It's a pity that the Big Dipper's foundation isn't as strong as it used to be. Otherwise, Su Yin wouldn't be inferior to any of the Supremes. He would also be qualified to conquer the Supremes. Yes, the structure of the universe is too cruel. It will be too difficult for Su Yin to reach the peak. He will certainly experience many dangers and difficulties. I hope he can hold on." These elders all began to discuss. Su Yin was still in seclusion, and his battle prowess was increasing day and night. It was the same for Tensor. This portion of Great Tao Evolution Elixir was of great help to him. He had a sovereign physique, and his physique was extremely powerful. He needed a lot of Great Tao Evolution Elixir to dig out the potential of his sovereign physique. "Su Yin, half the time has passed. Why haven't you come out yet? Do you still want to put on airs in front of the Supremes?" Someone in the forbidden area said angrily, "I'm warning you. The Supremes of the two Supremes will investigate the thief's background. If you don't come out when the time is up, you'd better come out and explain yourself. If you don't dare to come out when the time is up, it means you're definitely the thief. Let's see how you're going to deal with this." Su Yin must be afraid of the Supremes of the two Supremes. That madman Su is nothing more than that. It's already been 5 days, and he still hasn't shown himself. How long is he going to make the Supremes of the two Supremes wait? I think Su Yin is too arrogant. Some people were dissatisfied, while others secretly said, "What dogsh asterisk T Supremes of the two Supremes." If you want to know the truth, go to Hokuto and invite Madman Su out. Treat him with respect. Only then can Madman Su patiently explain. Otherwise, if Madman Su gets angry, you'll see. Have you forgotten the lesson of the Dark Underworld race? Motherf asterisk Kerr. Some Dark Underworld race experts secretly stomped their feet and cursed. They wanted to force the Supremes of the Star Domain to deal with Su Yin, but they actually dared to expose the bloody scars. The matter had already passed a year ago, and very few people brought it up, but they actually dared to directly expose the bloody scars. The Forbidden Area was a place where dragons and snakes mingled with each other. Many forces wanted to borrow the hands of the Sun Dome and King Flash to suppress Su Yin. It would be best if they could capture him alive. Now that the commotion outside was so great, even the Sun Dome was dissatisfied. He originally thought that Su Yin would come out directly to clarify things, but he didn't expect that Su Yin wouldn't show up even after so long. This caused the Sun Dome and King Flash to become angry. "You're somewhat unable to see the big picture," King Flash said coldly. Originally, because of the matter of the treasure trove, they wouldn't do anything to Su Yin to save face. But now that the matter had escalated, Su Yin not giving them face was the same as not giving face to the two peak races. The Dark Underworld race had suffered heavy losses, but in the end, they felt that there was no peerless young giant coming to kill them. Su Yin hadn't reached the level where he could look down on his peers. Pass down the order. None of the disciples of Hokuto's resource lands are allowed to leave. Sun Dome directly gave the order. Even if they couldn't find Su Yin, he still had the ability to force Su Yin out. This matter had finally escalated. A storm was brewing in the divine, spiritual mountain range. The divine, spiritual mountain range, which had been peaceful for a year, was now swept up in the flames of war. The two supremes of the Star Domain had joined forces to force Su Yin to come out and give a clear explanation. So much so that they directly gave the order as if they were heavenly monarchs. A single order was enough to force Hokuto to seal the mountain range and not allow anyone to leave. One had to admit that this was too domineering. Was this the deterrence of a peak race? Hokuto is too unlucky. Of all things, it just had to be related to Su Yin. Let's see if Su Yin still has a comrade in the future. Hee. Some people mocked and ridiculed. They felt that Hokuto was too unlucky. They should have stood aloof from worldly affairs, but now they were embroiled in this storm. Who does Madman Su think he is? Killing intent spread out from the depths of the forbidden area. A powerful figure rushed out, riding a precious dark cloud horse. His body was glowing brightly, and his aura was so intense that it burned the clouds in all directions. The creatures passing by were trembling. This aura, he must be a clansman of the Nine Yang sect's main bloodline. Yang Yuda's aura was monstrous. He rode the dark cloud horse as fast as lightning. This horse was not simple. Its body was glowing with dark light like a thick dark cloud. It traveled across the sky, trampling on the void with loud thuds. How dare the family of a loser be so rude to our race's supremacy? Yang Yuda's expression was cold. His body was burning like a small sun. He ran toward Hokuto's resource lands and shouted, "Follow me. If Su Yin doesn't admit his mistake, I'll flatten the entire Hokuto's resource lands." Yang Yuda, don't be rude. Another aura that was not inferior to his spread out. He was also riding an auspicious beast. His body was covered in lightning, and his silver eyes were breathtaking. It's Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan. The cultivators passing by were shocked. The disciples of the Nine Yang sect and the Divine Firmament sect have great hopes of becoming immortals in the future. Who would have thought that they would make a move? Let's go and take a look. Hokuto is going to be lively. They were extremely fast and were about to force their way to Hokuto's resource lands. Come out quickly. There are many overlords coming. They don't have good intentions, a disciple warned. Don't panic. Eldest senior brother is cultivating in seclusion. If they dare to cause trouble, they will suffer. Yes, calm him down for now. Eldest senior brother still needs time to cultivate in seclusion. Let's see what they want first. In Hokuto's resource lands, many disciples were rushing over from the forest and talking at the same time. How awe-inspiring. Stop right there. A disciple shouted angrily. The first one to rush over was Yang Yuda. His aura was shocking and his body was shining brightly. He rode on a dark cloud horse and flew across the sky, as if he was going to crush Hokuto's resource lands. This was a form of contempt and a very rude move. Yang Yuda wanted to trample over the resource lands and suppress all the disciples in Hokuto. I'll teach you a lesson first. Yang Yuda smiled coldly. He flew across the sky with a very domineering aura. He wanted to use his own strength to send the disciples guarding the mountain gate flying. Yang Yuda, don't you understand what I'm saying? An earth-shattering sound of thunder spread from behind. Lei Juanyuan's eyes flashed with a trace of cold lightning. 10,000 flashes of light burst forth from his body, causing the world to flicker between brightness and darkness. Moreover, it suppressed Yang Yuda from all directions. What's the meaning of this? Yang Yuda was furious. He was King Flash's general. How could he stop him? Don't be rude in Hokuto. Lei Junyuan rode over on his auspicious beast and berated. Although Su Yin was rude to King Flash and deserves to be cut into pieces, Hokuto has already driven Su Yin out. You can't trespass here. Our King Flash intends to marry Fairy Beidou. How can we beat up our own people? Yang Yuda was stunned. Then he laughed angrily and said, Our race is supreme is also interested. You're right, we should treat Hokuto disciples well. You bastard. Our sect's master of the stars is here. He can suppress those two with a flip of his hand. What kind of supreme is he? What right does he have to speak in front of the master of the stars? You're ridiculous. If you have the ability, then go and say such arrogant words in front of the master of the stars. What's the point of farting here? The group of disciples was furious. They could humiliate them, but speaking rudely to Fairy Beidou was unbearable. Their eyes were red as they angrily rebuked. The onlookers also saw that they were here to cause trouble. Although Su Yin had been given 10 days, they couldn't wait a moment longer. You trash. I'm talking about Fairy Beidou. What does that have to do with you? Yang Yudao's eyes lit up like two burning flames of the great Tao. He shouted, You don't agree? Get over here if you don't agree. I'll show you trash how strong a peak expert is. Hee, what's the point of bickering with trash? Lei Juanyuan's voice was like thunder as he berated. I think it's better for you all to leave the Big Dipper sect. Staying in the Big Dipper sect will only bring shame to the Big Dipper Fairy. Who does he think he is? He dares not go even when a Supreme from the Star Domain wants him to. Does he think he's someone important? Who do you think you are? If my senior brother were here, would you even dare to fart? A disciple growled. You're courting death. Yang Yuda and the others' expressions changed. Killing intent leaked out of their bodies, and they couldn't control themselves. They wanted to kill their way into Hokuto's resource area. Fellow Taoists, your guests from afar. Why are you so angry? All of a sudden, a sentence was transmitted from the depths of the resource land, echoing in the vast forest. The voice was distant and lingered for a long time. The surrounding people were stunned. Could Su Yin be here? Who is it? The two's expressions changed slightly. They swept their gazes into the depths, unable to locate the source of the voice. Why? Aren't you here for me? Su Yin said, Go and invite them over. I want to treat them well. It's senior brother. The group of disciples were agitated. They walked up and shouted politely, Brothers, please come in and treat us. Senior brother, Su Yin invites you in. We've already prepared the best tea for you. What? Su Yin invites us in? Chapter 559. The onlookers were also stunned as they scratched their ears and cheeks. What was going on? They really didn't expect Su Yin to be in seclusion inside. And now, Su Yin wanted to invite them in? If it were other experts, they would definitely receive them warmly and wouldn't dare to neglect Yang Yuda and Lei Quangren. But who was Madman Su? He was the one who truly displayed an invincible demeanor. Even the Divine King suffered a loss because of him. Now, Su Yin wanted to invite the enemy for tea. This was the first time they heard of such a thing. Brothers, quickly invite us in. Don't stand on ceremony. The disciples of Hokuto were very enthusiastic as they said, Senior brother Su Yin is really inviting you. Let's go and have a few drinks. Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan were hesitant. It wasn't that they didn't want to go, but that they were afraid. What kind of person was Su Yin? Although they were just talking and slandering Su Yin, this vicious person had even captured Ancien alive and crippled the Dark Nether race's resource lands. Now, this vicious person was inviting them in with a pleasant expression. This made their hair stand on end. They didn't believe that Su Yin would be afraid of the deterrence of two supreme beings. The onlookers' expressions were very interesting. They could see that they were in a predicament. If they went in, they might suffer a great loss. If they didn't go, they would lose face. For a moment, they were in a dilemma and stammered. Fellow Taoists, you are too enthusiastic. I'm just here to pass on a message. I want Su Yin to make a trip to the forbidden area. My race's supreme being is waiting for them. Yang Yuda wasn't so frightened that he couldn't speak. With such a response, everyone noticed that his tone had softened. What's the matter? Don't you want to come in and have a seat? The resource lands trembled slightly as an unusually strong aura leaked out. It was as if a sleeping giant had awakened. It stood up and stared at Yang Hongda and Lei Junyuan. The hearts of the two trembled as their hair stood on end. Without a doubt, it was Su Yin. They felt as if they were being watched, and a chill ran down their spines. Lei Junyuan smiled apologetically and said, "Haha, Brother Su, I'm here to pass on a message. My clan's King Flash has invited you over as a guest. We're here to pass on a message. Do not be careless." "What? Is it because I, Su, have not been a good host?" The voice rang out again, one syllable after another. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, which struck them as if they had been struck by lightning. Even their life essence seemed to be on the verge of collapse. They turned pale with fright, truly frightened. What kind of fighting strength was this? Even from so far away, just the sound waves alone almost injured them. I wouldn't dare. Please don't blame me, Mr. Su." Yang Yuda suppressed the fear in his heart. With a respectful attitude, he bowed and said, "Mr. Su, we came in a hurry and didn't prepare any gifts. We can only take our leave first and come back another day." That's right. Taoist Brother Yuda and I came together. We were just passing by. Lei Junyuan smiled apologetically and said, "We were a bit rude just now. Mr. Su, please don't take it to heart. We'll leave now. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. Mother Kerr, this change was too fast. Just a moment ago, they were saying that Su Yin was nothing, but now they were speaking in such a humble manner, not even calling him Mr. Su. What kind of situation was this? If this were spread back, they wouldn't be afraid that Sun Dome would skin them alive. After all, they had come with murderous intent, but now they were like obedient grandsons. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly, and their backs were drenched in cold sweat. Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan were complaining incessantly. The people around them couldn't sense anything, but they could clearly see that there was a figure sitting cross-legged in the depths. Su Yan's might was too frightening. Even the faint light of blood essence that seeped out from his pores was hard for them to bear. Su Yin was sitting cross-legged at the end of the horizon. The fluctuations emanating from his body were suffocating and unbearable. It was as if their bodies and minds would be torn apart as Su Yan's aura was released. It wasn't that they were afraid of Su Yan's reputation, but that the current situation was too dangerous. They didn't dare to breathe loudly, and their attitude was respectful. They didn't dare to overstep their boundaries. They also hated Su Yin in their hearts. Although they were afraid of Su Yin, it didn't mean that the Supremes behind them would be afraid of Su Yin. They felt that they should go back and add fuel to the fire. They should do their best to make Sun Dome and King Flash come immediately and teach Su Yin a lesson. Then, they would investigate the matter clearly. Ha, look at your conduct. You think you have the qualifications to represent the Supremes of two Supremes. You're really shameless. Suddenly, another cultivator from a distant world barged in. His aura was just as strong, and it was no different from when Yang Hongda and Lei Junyuan came. He barged into Hokuto's resource area with murderous intent. Bastards, it's the people from the Ancestral Hall. Yang Hongda and Lei Junyuan were flustered and exasperated. The people from the Ancestral Hall didn't give them any face at all, insulting them as soon as they came. They actually recognized the people who came. The leader was Zhu Yuanliang. This person was quite famous in the Ancestral Hall, and they were familiar with him. He was full of a wild aura, and overall, he looked arrogant and unruly. This is going to be a good show. A young expert actually came out of the quiet Ancestral Hall, and he even came to Hokuto's resource area. I really don't know what Daozu Yuanliang wants to do. Is he here to represent the ancestral hall? The surroundings were in an uproar, and the number of cultivators watching continued to increase. They all opened their eyes wide and watched carefully, not knowing what would happen next. Halt! Hokuto's disciple stood out and blocked Zhu Yuanliang. Someone said, "What do you want? We didn't invite you here in Hokuto, did we?" Ha, what a joke. Zhu Yuanliang's body surged with an ominous aura. He had an arrogant personality to begin with. Facing those who blocked his way, he directly berated, "If I wanted to come, would I need Hokuto's invitation? What a joke. Do you know how many people invited me, and I didn't go? Get out of my way. I have something important to discuss with Su Yin." What important thing can you have? If you know what's good for you, leave immediately. These disciples glared at Zhu Yuanliang. They didn't have a good impression of the people from the ancestral hall. Back then, Zhu Xing was like this, but he was still killed by Su Yin in the end. Do you think I'm as useless as them? Do you think you can scare me away with just a few words? Zhu Yuanliang replied with an arrogant attitude. With his hand behind his back, he said coldly, "Su Yin, I don't need you to go to the ancestral hall. I'm Zhu Yuanliang, an envoy from the ancestral hall. Come out immediately. I have something important to discuss with you." His voice was very loud, and it traveled very far. Yang Yuda and the other two were furious, but they didn't say a word. They sneered at Zhu Yuanliang, waiting for a good show. Su Yin didn't have any enmity with their clans, but it was different with the ancestral hall. Now that Zhu Yuanliang spoke so arrogantly, he wasn't afraid of falling. "You're too impudent. You even want eldest senior brother to come out to see you. Who do you think you are? Zhuan Bong came to see my eldest senior brother, and he also wants to see if he's in a good mood. Humph, you think you're worthy of eldest senior brother coming out to see you?" Hokuto's disciples were shocked and angry. They all walked up, wanting to beat Zhu Yuanliang up together. "Don't think that I don't dare to hurt you. Don't make a mistake. If I use force, it won't be good to see blood." Zhu Yuanliang exuded a powerful aura. His messy hair fluttered in the wind, and his entire body glowed with a bloody light. He looked like a powerful demon god standing between heaven and earth. He said, "If I can't control it and accidentally kill someone, it won't be good. Look at how arrogant you are, acting so impudent in our territory. Let's see if you can injure someone." Hokuto's experts had already come out of seclusion, and they were secretly observing the surroundings. Now that they were angered by Zhu Yuanliang's words, they all rushed out. Zhu Yuanliang's expression was ugly. At least a dozen experts rushed out, and a few veteran experts also came out of seclusion. They stared at Zhu Yuanliang with ferocious eyes. Their auras were very fierce, and together, it was as if a sea of stars was pressing down on this place. Why did the ancestral hall send an envoy here? What important matter do you have? Just say it out loud. The confused voice came again. At the end of the horizon, a vague shadow appeared and said, "Don't worry about it. Su Yin, it's really you." Zhu Yuanliang was shocked. He pointed at him and shouted, "Come here, I have a letter of challenge for you." "Of course I'll accept it. It's the same as accepting the challenge." "What? A letter of challenge? Who issued the letter of challenge?" The surrounding people were stunned, and then they were shocked. Could it be that Dao Zhu Onbong had come out of seclusion? One had to understand that Zhu Onbong had caused a great commotion many years ago. His physical strength had reached the great Dao realm, and he hadn't even achieved the Dao yet. There had long been rumors in the outside world that Zhu Onbong's future accomplishments would be world-shocking, and he wouldn't be inferior to the peak experts of the various paths. Moreover, Zhu Onbong had the supreme body, and was the son of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor. Back then, Zhu Onbong had suffered greatly at Su Yan's hands. Now that Zhu Onbong had surfaced, there was an 80% chance that he was here to get back at him. The surrounding cultivators were really looking forward to it. A battle between Zhu Onbong and Su Yin was definitely a rare occasion. They were both enough to represent two great clans. After all, the ancestral hall's hatred and the burial region's clan were the greatest. "What letter of challenge? Hurry up and read out loud." Su Yin replied, his attitude very calm. "You." Zhu Yuanliang's expression was gloomy. He said, "Su Yin, Could it be that you don't even want to take a few steps? Aren't you being too rude? This letter of challenge is for you. You have to come here personally and accept this letter of challenge. I'm cultivating right now. You can wait here for a few days. Su Yan's figure was faintly disappearing. He hadn't completely absorbed the great Tao evolution liquid and needed to cultivate for a few days. He really didn't have time to pay attention to them. Su Yan, you're being too rude. Zhu Yuanliang was furious. He raised the letter of challenge and shouted angrily, "This is a letter of challenge personally issued by my clan's little ancestor. If you don't accept it now, you'll automatically accept it. Just say out loud that you're inferior to my clan's little ancestor, and I'll be able to report back." "That loser wants to challenge me?" Su Yin said with great interest. If you hadn't mentioned him, I would have almost forgotten about Zhu Onbong. Zhu Yuanliang really couldn't take Su Yan's words. He was so angry that his teeth itched. He pointed at Su Yin and reprimanded. "Su Yin, don't be too arrogant. The battle back then doesn't count at all. I'm here with the little ancestor's letter of challenge. He's declaring war on you. Do you dare to accept this letter of challenge and fight to the death? Can't you just say the time and place? You really have a lot of nonsense. You really have a lot of problems." Su Yin sneered and said, "You guys accept the letter of challenge from me. I want to see what Zhu Onbong wants to do." Its eldest senior brother, a disciple, walked forward, wanting to accept the letter of challenge. "Impudent. This is a letter of challenge for you. Su Yin, what's the meaning of asking them to accept it?" Scram to the side. Zhu Yuanliang was seething with anger. He wanted Su Yin to personally accept the letter of challenge. "Are you King done yet?" The shadow that was about to disappear over the horizon suddenly became terrifying. Blood energy overflowed, filling World's End. It was as if a colossus had awakened from its slumber. That terrifying aura spread out, covering the sky and covering the earth, surging over like a flood. It was as if an ocean had been overturned, and the rivers, mountains, and earth were trembling. Zhu Yuanliang couldn't take it anymore. It was as if a million mountains were pressing down on him. His knees buckled, and he fell to his knees with a plop. "Kneel and read out loud. If you make a single mistake, I'll kill you." Chapter 560. The sound of thunder reverberated between heaven and earth, shaking the heavens and earth and causing the mountains to rumble. This sound was extremely loud and contained fury. It was as if a demon king of a generation had awoken from his slumber and was looking down at the world. The spectators were terrified. Time suddenly returned to a year ago. The scene of the river of blood flashed in their minds. Madman Su, who had been silent for a year, seemed to have become even more ferocious, causing the world to tremble. They didn't dare to breathe loudly. Who was Madman Su? He had killed his way through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. He possessed peerless ferocity and was a young giant who looked down on the divine mountain range. Plop! Zhu Yuanliang couldn't hold it in anymore. He knelt on the ground and trembled all over, as if he had submitted to Su Yan. Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan wanted to laugh, but they couldn't. Their backs were drenched in cold sweat. If they didn't know what was good for them and continued to clamor in Hokuto's resource lands, forcing Su Yin to explain the matter in the Forbidden Land, they would have ended up like Zhu Yuanliang. Their ending was probably the same as Zhu Yuanliang's. Now they understood that Su Yin was not in the same field as them. They did not have the qualifications to challenge Su Yin. Even Zhu Yuanliang, the envoy, was kneeling on the ground and trembling. This meant that Madman Su wasn't afraid of trouble at all, as long as they didn't provoke him. Especially when Su Yin made him kneel on the ground and read it out. This was a kind of humiliation. When they recalled Zhu Yuanliang's words about them being useless, they secretly rejoiced that they didn't go overboard and knew to back down at the crucial moment. Roar! Zhu Yuanliang was furious. He didn't expect Su Yin to suddenly make things difficult for him. He also didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to withstand it and kneel down. This kind of humiliation made him furious. He was here on behalf of Zhu Onbong. He was here to issue a challenge. But to make him kneel on the ground and read it out in such a humiliating manner. If he returned, Zhu Onbong would skin Zhu Yuanliang alive. What the hell are you shouting for? Do I need to repeat myself? Su Yin angrily rebuked. The shadow at the end of the horizon became terrifying once again. Rolling golden ripples surged over like numerous large mountains. They shook Zhu Yuanliang, who was about to climb up, until he began to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. Ah! Zhu Yuanliang screamed in agony, feeling a trace of fear in his heart. Su Yan's combat prowess had exceeded his expectations. In front of an overlord like Su Yan, he couldn't even lift his head and could only be suppressed. I say, Zhu Yuanliang, hurry up and explain the problem. That's right. Zhu Yuanliang, why are you always kneeling on the ground? Just explain the problem clearly. There's no need to be so formal. Zhu Yuanliang, you'll be able to report to your superiors when we get back. Hurry up and read it out. Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan were laughing coldly at the side. Zhu Yuanliang had been mocking them just now, but now he was in such a miserable state. His skin was torn and his flesh was lacerated. His entire body was on the verge of shattering. He let out an indignant roar. Su Yin, I'm an emissary. Don't go overboard. Before he could finish speaking, Su Yan's aura once again surged over. Anyone could sense that the ice-cold, murderous intent had attacked, causing the entire world to be filled with a sense of oppression. Su Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. He shouted, I gave you a chance, but you don't know how to cherish it. What's the point of keeping you alive? When the ocean-like murderous aura came crashing down, it filled the entire world. Everyone present felt their hair stand on end. Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan were both trembling, goosebumps rising all over their bodies. They felt suffocated, as if an immortal divine furnace was awakening. The power of blood essence that spread out was hard for them to bear. No. Zhu Yuanliang was terrified. This was the sign of an impending disaster. Su Yan's power was about to crush him into pieces. He hurriedly shouted, I'll explain the problem. Little Ancestor wants me to tell you that we'll have a showdown 3 days later. Why bother? The spectators found it hard to calm down. If he had obediently handed over the letter of challenge just now, he wouldn't have to kneel on the ground and read it out in such a humiliating manner. Zhu Yuanliang was in a miserable state now. Although he still had a breath of life, all the bones in his body were broken. He couldn't even stand up. He said with a trembling voice, the declaration of challenge is over. The killing intent that was like a tidal wave quickly dissipated. The world regained its tranquility. Yang Yuda and Lei Junyuan took a deep breath and turned to leave. They didn't dare to stay any longer for fear that Su Yin would change his mind. Zhu Yuanliang was carried away. The people around couldn't bear to watch. Some felt that he was lucky to be alive. In the ancient starry sky world, Su Yan's cultivation had come to an end. The great Tao evolution liquid was almost completely absorbed by his body. His treasure body seemed to have unlocked a layer of shackles. It emitted blazing, multicolored light and was suffused with the heavenly might of the great Tao. The power of the universe's prison evolved from his body also increased sharply. Su Yan's combat power soared. His aura fluctuated, causing the space to disappear in a blur and evaporate into a huge black hole. His aura had increased too much. However, he felt that he would need at least 10 or 20 bottles of Great Tao evolution liquid to push his body to the level of a Great Tao body. His needs were too great, and he was very clear about his own potential. If he could obtain this Great Tao evolution liquid, his combat power would definitely leap to an unimaginable level. He was very much looking forward to this day. It was very lively outside. The news of Zhu Yuanliang kneeling and reading the challenge had already spread like wildfire. It caused great waves. Su Yin, you're audacious. You dare to humiliate the envoy sent by the little ancestor. An expert from the ancestral hall was furious. He stood out and said, You've gone too far. I'll see how you die in 3 days. Remember, only have 3 days. When our little ancestor breaks through, it'll be your end. If you don't come, Hokuto's resource lands will be buried with you. The ancestral hall was silent for a long time. Now, killing intent permeated from all sides. Many experts stood out and said, "Don't worry, you can choose the location of the battle yourself. When the little ancestor comes out in 3 days, it'll be your end." What a huge commotion. The commotion of this battle was becoming more and more vast. Experts from all over the ancestral hall stood out and said powerful words. There were even experts who wandered all over, issuing invitations for people to come and watch this battle. What? The ancestral hall is issuing invitations for fellow Taoists to come and watch the battle? Is Zhu Onbong that confident in killing Su Yin? The impact of this matter was a bit too great. The ancestral hall was extremely confident. Someone couldn't help but say, "I almost forgot." Back then, Zhu Onbong was at the half-Dao realm, but his physical strength was comparable to the great Dao realm. He even had the celestial battle body. This person is even the son of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor. Now that he has stepped into the great Dao realm, he's definitely cultivated to an unimaginable level. Zhu Onbong naturally can't be underestimated. His strength is unquestionable. Back then, he suffered greatly at Su Yan's hands. Now that he has returned in such a powerful manner, he definitely possesses unrivaled strength. The entire world was in an uproar. The ancestral hall's movements were great. They had already begun to wander all over, issuing invitations for people to come and watch the battle. This meant that the ancestral hall was too confident. They didn't believe that they would lose. Good. The ancient Tao, right, was in an uproar. Zhu Wenxiong said savagely, "Little ancestor has finally defied the heavens and risen up." Good. After little ancestor breaks through 3 days later, it will be Su Yan's doomsday. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Is there even a need to say more? Little ancestor endured the tempering of the Tao body pill and went into seclusion for such a long time. The clan even sent over 3 drops of origin treasured liquid. There were some old gods who were excited. What was that? That was origin treasured liquid, known as the greatest cultivation holy object in history. Every drop was a priceless item. In the vast cosmos, it was impossible to find origin treasured liquid at all. This type of precious liquid could only be dug out from the ruins of primal chaos. Its rarity was so great that even experts like Sun Dome and King Flash could only obtain a few drops. They couldn't obtain many drops. However, Zhu Onbong obtained 3 drops. Using it to break through to the great Dao realm was already quite extravagant. Zhu Onbong had the celestial battle body to begin with, so his physical strength was definitely terrifying beyond compare. Now that he was borrowing the power of the origin treasured liquid to comprehend the great Dao, he would definitely cultivate to an unimaginable level. Zhu Wenxiong and the others were extremely confident. They didn't think that there would be any problems. The first day had already passed. The storm was getting stronger and stronger. There were even experts rushing back from the Forbidden Lands, wanting to observe this battle. Some people felt that Zhu Onbong chose to wait 3 days because he was worried that Su Yin would be targeted by Sun Dome and King Flash. Therefore, he wanted to make a move before Sun Dome and eliminate Su Yin. 3 great peak experts are all targeting Madman Su. Many people were speechless. Zhu Onbong hadn't even surfaced yet, but there were already people calling him a peak expert. They didn't think that the descendant of a major existence wouldn't be able to cultivate to such heights. Su Yin wasn't idle. He was still in the ancient starry sky world. The yin-yang compass was constantly operating. This compass shone, and the yin-yang celestial dragon revolved around the compass. Su Yin began to deduce Zhu Onbong's whereabouts. The compass was extremely strange. It could see a corner of the future and even communicate with the world's source. As long as it was a living matter that existed in the world, the yin-yang compass seemed to be able to deduce the traces of life. Back then, he suffered a great loss because of the yin-yang compass. Now, with the compass's deduction, he gradually found some clues. You want to make a move first and kill Zhu Onbong? Tensor was shocked. If you really kill Zhu Onbong, the entire ancestral hall will be enraged. Perhaps the ancestral hall's major existence will charge out and barge into the divine mountain range. It's not that easy to barge in. If the major existence really comes, we'll go straight to the final destination, Su Yin said solemnly. There's not much time left. I'll go to the ancestral hall's resource area first. Tinsir, you stay here and transfer all the disciples away. The value of this space is already very low anyway. A great battle is imminent. Let's give up here. Su Yin didn't hesitate and directly left. Hokuto's resource area was very lively now. Many experts from the ancestral hall had gathered here. Some Hokuto disciples were angry. The ancestral hall's people were very arrogant. They said that they were afraid that Su Yin would retreat in the face of difficulties, so they fled. In short, the ancestral hall had caused a great commotion. The entire world was stirred up, afraid that the ancestral hall wouldn't know that Daozu Onbong had risen. The ancestral hall will definitely feel the pain of killing Zhu Onbong. Su Yan's eyes were filled with killing intent. The son of a major existence, and he was even the leader of the Burial Region's clan 100 years ago. Chapter 561. In the divine spiritual mountain range, the resources of the ancestral hall's resource land could be said to be quite abundant. The ancestral hall had always been unfathomable. The vast resource land was suffused with killing intent. There were experts overseeing every resource land, overseeing the extraction of resources. In fact, no matter how many resources there were, they couldn't withstand such extraction. Sooner or later, they would run out of resources. No matter how vast the divine spiritual mountain range was, it wouldn't take long for everything to be plundered clean. This kind of fat meat was usually eaten by the peak clans. Su Yin had long since arrived near the ancestral hall's resource land. He concealed himself with the yin-yang compass and observed from nearby. The formations here were indeed powerful, and there were also a few ancient killing formations operating in secret. However, for master strange arts like Su Yin, this difficulty was nothing. He deciphered it for a while and escaped into the resource land. Su Yin didn't dare be careless. He carefully traversed through the ancestral hall's resource land. Although he had already deduced Zhu Onbong's whereabouts, Su Yin wouldn't kill his way over directly. Who knew what kind of great killing weapon was hidden in the Daozu Hall's resource land? Su Yin was envious during the process. He groped around the mountains and rivers and saw all kinds of resources. They were all extremely rich and valuable. He even saw a few treasure vaults open, gushing with auspicious light and radiance. Su Yin scratched his head. He really wanted to go over and take away the resources in the vaults. Forget it. Let's do something big first. Su Yin didn't want to alarm anyone. If the ancestral hall knew that he had barged in, they would definitely seal off the entire resource land. With the ancestral hall's foundation, they would definitely be more powerful than the Dark Nether race. He had suffered a loss at the immortal binding rope back then, so he was very cautious. He groped his way over. Finally, Su Yin arrived at his destination. According to the yin-yang compass, Zhu Onbong was just ahead. It was a mountain range covered in rolling clouds. The clouds were suffused with rosy clouds and auspicious signs. The atmosphere here was very sacred and solemn. Looking from afar, one could see rare ancient medicines taking root in the mountain range, gushing with the essence of heaven and earth. There were even sacred medicines that were spiritually transmitting the sound of the great Tao. That place was too extraordinary. A few palaces built within the mountain range, spiritual birds flying about within the clouds, powerful ancestral hall experts conversing within, chatting and laughing. What a joke. You even said that Su Yin broke the balance. What a joke. If he has the ability, he should take a look at our resource lands. I'll make sure he never comes back. Someone said disdainfully in a loud voice, the Dark Nether race is really stupid. How could they let a small fish like Su Yin break through their resource lands? Yes, the descendant of a little loser can overturn the sky in the Dark Nether race's resource land. How laughable. A woman also spoke. Her appearance was tender and beautiful, like a pearl spitting out multicolored clouds. She sneered and said, Even Yin was captured alive. How pitiful. Yin can't represent the Dark Nether tribe. No matter what, number 5 has been on the run for so long. Since Little Ancestor has made his move, it's time for him to be brought to justice. I wonder when Little Ancestor will come out of seclusion. Isn't 3 days too short? I really thought that Su Yin had gone into hiding again. The experts of the younger generation of the Ancestral Hall were gathered in the misty world. They were chatting and laughing here, and their voices were very loud. Su Yin stopped nearby and observed the mountain range. Finally, they gathered at the end of the mountain range in a sacred palace. It was as if the heavens and earth were being split apart, and an abnormally terrifying figure was cultivating inside. He was like a black abyss, exuding energy fluctuations that couldn't be traced. His aura was extremely cold and terrifying, shaking the heavens and earth. Faintly, a terrifying aura surged into the starry skies, replacing the heavens. Zhu Onbong was cultivating. Su Yin could feel that his strength was increasing, and his aura was also very strong. After all, he had a supreme physique. With the resources of the Ancestral Hall, the potential of the supreme physique must have been unlocked, so the commotion caused by his breakthrough was too great. He hasn't completed his breakthrough yet. Su Yan's eyes widened, and he became restless. He almost couldn't control the killing intent in his heart and wanted to kill Zhu Onbong. He felt that with Zhu Onbong's identity, he definitely had good things on him. He definitely had a lot of great Dao evolution fluid, and he might even have some treasures that were even more valuable than the great Dao evolution fluid. If I cross over now, I can directly kill Zhu Onbong. Killing intent surged in Su Yan's heart. When he recalled the events from 100 years ago, it was difficult for him to control the killing intent in his heart. As long as he could kill Zhu Onbong, kill the descendant of the supreme expert for back then, he would definitely be able to get back the interest. His eyes burned with the flames of hatred. This was a blood feud that had to be washed away with the blood of his enemies. Just as he was about to lose control and rush into the mountain range, it was as if a basin of cold water had been poured over him. Su Yan's back was drenched in cold sweat. My mind was controlled by killing intent just now, and my perception was blinded by hatred. Su Yan was alarmed. I almost went crazy. This is the Ancestral Hall's resource land, and the slightest carelessness could have led to my death. If I encounter something like this in the future, I must maintain absolute calm. This is the enemy's lair, a dangerous place. How can I be so careless? The other party is the son of a supreme expert. Su Yan felt that this was too reckless. Although he had absolute confidence, he would still put himself in danger. When he looked at the world covered in rolling clouds again, Su Yan's expression finally changed. After he maintained his clarity and calmness, he saw something different. The mountain range covered in rolling clouds had weak defenses, and there weren't even many killing formations. With his cultivation, he could even see through it directly. He was very confident that he could cross over. He was on guard. This was Zhu Onbong's place of seclusion, so how could it not have powerful defenses? Even if Zhu Onbong didn't care, the Ancestral Hall's experts wouldn't be so careless. Unless they're too conceited, this is a trap. Su Yan's eyes shone with killing intent. He hid in the void and patrolled carefully. He couldn't see anything different even after observing for a long time. In the end, Su Yan retreated and observed from afar. What he saw gave him a fright. This killing formation was a little too frightening. It covered an area of 10,000 li. It was no wonder he couldn't see it clearly when he was nearby. He noticed that there was a hazy layer of matter in the world that was difficult to detect. It was waiting for the right moment to erupt, and the killing formation within 10,000 li would surge out and attack the Cloud Mist mountain range. If he was trapped in there, it would be difficult for him to escape in a short period of time. Su Yan's face turned grim. The first person he thought of was Qi Gao. He must be the one behind this. Su Yan's eyes flashed with coldness. Other than Qi Gao, there was no one else who could have such power. He patrolled the area and saw through some of the killing formations. He was sure that this was the work of the mystical sex experts, and they had paid a huge price to do so. There were many precious formation discs buried underground that could be used to kill at critical moments. No, Zuonbong is also a fake, Su Yin said solemnly. Once this killing formation is activated, it will kill everything. Setting up such a killing formation while Zuonbong is in seclusion. If it is activated, it will also threaten Zuonbong's life. Qi Gao isn't that bold. After all, the yin-yang compass was taken from Qi Gao's hands. It wasn't difficult for him to set up a trap for Su Yin through the yin-yang compass. Su Yin left this place. He prepared to conduct a thorough search to find Zuonbong. He felt that he must have made a plan with Qi Gao in the resource lands. If Su Yin really dared to kill his way here, Zuonbong will be the first to rush over to help. Su Yin felt that Zuonbong's seclusion place should be nearby. When night fell, Su Yin was almost done with his search. He found that there were people clamoring in the Cloud Mist mountain range. Their voices were very loud, slandering Su Yin. "You are all just bait." This made Su Yin sneer. If he hadn't stopped just now, he would have really been fooled. In the process of searching, Su Yin also deciphered the killing formation set up by Qi Gao. He wanted to kill Zuonbong here with a two-pronged attack. Boom! When the curtain of night descended, Divine Mountain Range was no longer calm. At the border of the restricted region, endless terrifying waves pervaded the air, overturning the heavens. This was the collision of two extremely terrifying murderous forces, blasting the entire world full of holes. Look, countless cultivators trembled. The aura that spread out from the Forbidden Zone was too terrifying. It was as if two great gods were fighting, erupting with an aura that overturned rivers and seas. There was a roar, and tens of thousands of mountains collapsed. The cracks were endless, and the boundless mountains and rivers rose and fell. Then a destructive explosion occurred inside, and everything within 10,000 li was about to be turned into ashes. It was a peerless battle. Everyone saw the 9 heavenly suns arranged in the sky, about to merge into one, turning into an immortal heavenly sun to destroy all enemies in the world. Someone saw a true dragon emerge from the abyss, piercing through the great cosmos. The moment boundless draconic might rose and fell, it suffused with unmatched strength, shaking up the 9 heavenly suns, about to slaughter out an unmatched domain. A clash of supreme beings. This battle storm was too terrifying, engulfing all directions. The two great experts' auras devoured rivers and mountains, both of them possessing the bearing of exceptional heroes. In this world of destruction, an extremely powerful collision unfolded. Kill! The two experts roared, their auras piercing through the darkness. The world turned into daytime. Their auras were too astonishing, the fluctuations from their collision extremely boundless. Tensor's expression changed greatly as he watched from a distance. He quickly carried out his plan of retreat. What a terrifying confrontation! Who is the Sun Dome fighting with? The area within tens of thousands of li became an uninhabited region. That type of battle was too terrifying, surging with endless divine radiance, illuminating the darkness. This battle lasted for 3,000 exchanges, almost reaching the dawn of the next day. When it ended, horrified figures crawled out from the shattered rivers and mountains. Everything within tens of thousands of li was flattened, the world beaten into a state of complete devastation. In the end, a piece of news was released, stirring up endless shocking waves. Breaking news, Shueguan and Sun Dome are fighting. 3,000 exchanges, the outcome of the battle unknown. This news was too shocking, as if an imposing giant star soared into the sky overnight, overlooking the Divine Mountain Range. All the great experts found this hard to believe. How powerful was Sun Dome? However, Shueguan, who had been in the news for a few years, appeared, facing Sun Dome in a tyrannical manner, the outcome of the battle unknown. Many people knew that the two experts were still terrifying, but they didn't carry out a life and death battle. Why is Sun Dome fighting a bloody battle with Shueguan? It's not a bloody battle. The two of them are only fighting. Sun Dome is also eliminating suspicion. After his confirmation, the great thief is most likely Su Yin. Many people were alarmed. Zhu Onbong, Sun Dome, King Flash, Shueguan, and Su Yin were the 5 most powerful experts of the younger generation at the end of the Divine Mountain Range. The other 4 were starting to target Su Yin. I think this is just an excuse. They want to kill Madman Su. Chapter 562. The outcome of the battle between Sun Dome and Shueguan was still unknown. The impact of this matter was enormous and involved all the major races. The outcome of the battle between these 2 experts was unknown. If Sun Dome had won, how could there be no news? Then the result would be a draw. An existence comparable to a Star Domain Supreme had appeared out of nowhere. The champion of the Shui family had overflowed with divine might and intimidated the entire Divine Mountain Range. This caused an uproar among the major races. Many people felt it was inconceivable. Shueguan and Su Yin were both from the Big Dipper starfield. Who will win in a battle between 2 dragons? If Su Yin had the confidence to challenge Sun Dome, he would have come to explain himself long ago. Then there's only one outcome. Su Yin can't defeat Sun Dome and Shueguan. Shueguan is too strong. He's been lying low for many years and has appeared today to intimidate the world. He has a place among the giants of the Divine Mountain Range. I think this is a great reshuffling of the cards. Now that Madman Su has been eliminated, the 4 great experts of the Divine Mountain Range will join forces. Is the path of the Buried Realm's rising star going to be cut short? The Divine Mountain Range has already progressed to this stage. It seems the time for the kings to contend for supremacy has arrived. The Divine Mountain Range stirred up a torrential storm. People could already see that the 3 great experts had arrived together. Their destination was Hokuto's resource lands. In truth, Sun Dome had previously suspected that Shueguan was his downfall. The lost treasure was too shocking, so he had no choice but to investigate thoroughly. He investigated all the experts of the Divine Mountain Range and finally confirmed that it wasn't Shueguan. After all, they had fought before. Sun Dome, King Flash, and Shueguan. These 3 peak experts could be considered the giants of the younger generation. They overlooked the rivers and mountains. Wherever they passed, the heaven and earth would lose color and the heroes would retreat. This was an incomparable storm. Killing intent toward Su Yin pervaded the air. The defeated dark underworld race soldiers charged out one after another. They felt it was time to settle the score. Su Yin was already at the end of his road. The peak experts had already made their move. Was there any suspense left? I wonder how eldest senior brother is doing. The Hokuto disciples had long since retreated. They were deeply worried. Su Yin had crossed over to the ancestral hall. Even if Su Yan smoothed, the 3 experts, of course. Su's identity, Zhongliang left, following the 3 strong cultivators. This was a game. As long as Su Yin could stand firm in this storm, no one in the Divine Mountain Range could do anything to him. Finally, Su Yin locked onto a mountain. He could not see through the terrain here. Even when he took out the yin-yang compass to deduce, he could not see clearly. Finally, Su Yin confirmed that there were various ancient arrays lying in ambush here. It should be here. Su Yin had no idea what was going on outside. He calmed himself down and began to decipher the formation. Time is limited. I hope I can kill my way in before Zhu Onbong goes into seclusion. When Su Yin entered the ground, he saw all kinds of formation marks. They were hidden very deeply, and they had the power to seal off heaven and earth. The killing formation here must have interfered with the calculations of the yin-yang compass. If it was a year ago, Su Yin wouldn't have been able to do anything about this place. But things were different now. His mastery of the occult arts had improved by leaps and bounds. By observing the mountains and the layout of heaven and earth, he could detect some flaws. Su Yin was pleasantly surprised. Zhu Onbong had hidden himself so deeply. It was very likely that he was in seclusion or cultivating some kind of secret art to deal with him. I have to speed up. He only had a single day left. Su Yin focused all of his attention on deciphering the formation. He felt that he should be able to break through the formation in a day's time and sneak in to assassinate Zuanbong. The storm in the divine spiritual mountain range was becoming more and more shocking. The great figures of various races gathered outside were all paying close attention to this. This was related to the rise and fall of a young giant, so much so that the supreme beings of 3 great star domains had joined hands. However, what shocked them the most was that Shui Guan could actually fight against Yang Qiong and not be at a disadvantage. It was still hard to say who was stronger. Sun Dome didn't need to provoke such a powerful enemy. "Su Yan, I'm already here. Why aren't you showing yourself?" A cold voice was transmitted over, shaking the heavens and the earth. The mountain forest rose and fell, tens of thousands of trees shook, and leaves flew wildly. Shui Guan soared through the air. His hands were behind his back, and his divine might overflowed into the heavens. He said in a cold voice, "It's time to settle the grudge between us." So he's Shui Guan. He really does have the bearing of a young supreme being. The storm swept over. There were many onlookers. Some of the women looked at Shui Guan. To be able to fight evenly with Sun Dome, Shui Guan's strength was undeniable. His prestige rose to the peak. However, there was no response from the mountains and forests. The atmosphere was a bit cold. Everyone knew that they had come with great fanfare today. They definitely wouldn't let this matter rest. The boundless mountains and forests trembled. Shui Guan's might was boundless. He was like a divine king overlooking the mountains and rivers. He said coldly, "Don't worry. I've already come to an agreement with Brothers Sun Dome and King Flash. They won't interfere in the grudge between us." Shui Guan. In a distant world, a group of Ancestral Hall experts arrived. Someone stood out and said, "Wait a moment. Tomorrow is the day of the battle between Little Ancestor and Su Yan. After tomorrow, we'll settle the grudge between you two." Everyone paled. Zuanbong was truly bold. Did he really think that he was stronger than Shui Guan? Fellow Taoists from the Ancestral Hall. Shui Guan still had his hands behind his back. His might was extraordinary. He said, "I'll directly capture Su Yan and hand him over to your Ancestral Hall to deal with. Wouldn't that be better?" No matter what, Little Ancestor has already issued a letter of challenge. The people from the Ancestral Hall frowned. If what Shui Guan said was true, then there wouldn't be any problems. After all, Shui Guan and Su Yan's identities were different. Su Yan was an expert from the burial region, while Shui Guan and the others had the intention of befriending each other. After all, the Ancestral Hall had Zhu Tian. They didn't care about Shui Guan's rise at all. Boom! Suddenly, the boundless mountains and forests trembled. A wisp of formless force field pervaded the air, suffocating the experts present. This was an exceptionally terrifying force field. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the mountains and forests silently shattered. Everything within a radius of several thousand li caved in. The great cracks were endless. This world was shaken into ruins by his aura. The people from the Ancestral Hall had uncertain expressions. Shui Guan was expressing his attitude. What was this? This was an invincible foundation. Any expert who had cultivated an invincible foundation wouldn't be intimidated by a powerful race. Now, Shui Guan was the same. His domineering response caused the mountains and forests to collapse, and the rivers and mountains to lose their color. An ocean-like killing intent surged out of his body and covered the entire Big Dipper Sect's resource land. Moreover, a corner of the ancient starry sky world in the depths of Hokuto had caved in. Shui Guan's aura was too tyrannical. He had directly attacked the mountain. However, the ancient starry sky world that had been opened didn't even have a single person in sight. It was completely empty. Even the divine force within the small world was extremely thin and wasn't of much use. The dozen or so stars had all been taken away. Where is he? The onlookers were dumbfounded. There wasn't a single person left in the Hokuto resource lands. Su Yan, how dare you escape? The people from the Ancestral Hall were furious. They knew that this scene had been premeditated for a long time. They roared, "How preposterous! You clearly accepted Little Ancestor's challenge, but now you're actually running away? How preposterous!" The people from the Ancestral Hall were furious. Once Su Yin disappeared, who would be able to find him? The experts who were originally worried about Su Yan's safety heaved a sigh of relief. Faced with such a murderous situation, they had to retreat. If they stayed, they would only be waiting for death. What? Su Yin escaped? Sun Dome and King Flash's expressions darkened. They immediately ordered, "Find him. No matter what, Su Yin has to give me a clear explanation before he dies." Although they didn't know what the lost treasure was, they couldn't sleep at night. They had to find Su Yin and ask him clearly. If it really wasn't him, they would continue to investigate. Even if they found out that it was Zhu Onbong, they would continue to investigate. "Su Yin, how can you leave?" Shuiguan stood above the ruined resource land. He said coldly, "I'm already here. If you leave now, when will the grudge between us be resolved?" Shuiguan had his hands behind his back. He was like an emperor patrolling the heavens as he criticized Zhu Onbong. The people from the Ancestral Hall were furious. Zhu Onbong was almost ready. He had been preparing for this day for a long time. He was going to take back what he lost back then. If they killed Su Yin, they could even seize his prestige. Zhu Onbong's power would skyrocket overnight. Moreover, his status in the Ancestral Hall would rise infinitely. It was only logical that he would be able to obtain all kinds of terrifying resources. However, he had already left. The people from the Ancestral Hall were furious. If Su Yin didn't come out, there was nothing they could do. The Divine Mountain Range was in an uproar. Was Su Yin afraid? Was he going to hide? It's done. However, in the Ancestral Hall's resource land, Su Yin finally heaved a sigh of relief. He had deciphered the layers of ancient formations and found the way to pass. Su Yin directly barged in. He entered the mountain range. As soon as he entered, Su Yin saw the inner space of the mountain range. There was only one ancient palace hidden in the mountain range. This palace was tall and magnificent. It was suffused with all kinds of resplendent light of the great Tao. It exuded the aura of the divine Tao. There were even wisps of primal chaos rising from it. A divine palace and a spatial treasure. This thing is extraordinarily valuable. As expected of the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor. He even has such a powerful palace protecting his place of seclusion. Su Yin was shocked. This was a Tao palace, the Tao palace of a god. Its value was immeasurable. No wonder he couldn't divine Zhu Onbong's whereabouts. There was nothing to say. Su Yin directly barged in. This kind of defense was unbreakable. He could only force his way in. Who's outside? As soon as he closed in on the Tao palace, a vicious aura surged from the Tao palace's gate. A strange beast let out a muffled roar from inside. It crawled out, and its face turned pale with fright. Someone actually barged in. This place was extremely well hidden. The strange beast immediately raised its hooves, wanting to attack the Tao gate to inform Zhu Onbong and let him be on guard. However, as soon as the strange beast moved, a golden rope flew out, binding the strange beast. This is the immortal binding rope. Who exactly are you? Chapter 563. The strange beast was terrified. This was Daozu's place of seclusion, and its location was extremely well hidden. It could be said that no one knew that Daozu Onbong was cultivating here, and it was the only guardian. This was also Zhu Onbong's confidence. After all, the defenses of this place were too astonishing. However, it never expected that someone would be able to sneak in without a sound and even bind it with the immortal binding rope. This caused the strange beast to feel great fear. When it saw the appearance of the intruder, its heart was filled with fear. Zhu Onbong had already issued a challenge to Su Yin, and tomorrow was the day of the duel. However, at this very moment, Su Yin had actually barged into Zhu Onbong's place of seclusion. This made the strange beast's hair stand on end. It didn't even need to think to know what Su Yin's goal was. It wanted to roar and create a huge commotion to inform the experts outside, but it was already bound by the immortal binding rope and couldn't move at all. Boom! Su Yin directly charged over, raising his fist and smashing it forward. This punch caused half of the strange beast's body to collapse. This was the immortal binding rope, and it had bound the strange beast. It couldn't resist at all in front of Su Yin. "What are you doing?" The strange beast was incomparably miserable. It was scared out of its wits. If something happened to Zuonbong during his seclusion, the entire ancestral hall would go crazy. Su Yin raised his hand and struck the strange beast's head, directly grabbing its primordial spirit. Su Yin was very decisive and didn't waste a single moment. He used the power of his primordial spirit to search the strange beast's soul, learning the method to enter and exit this divine palace. With the current power of Su Yan's primordial spirit, it was impossible for him to dig out all of the strange beast's soul memories, but he still obtained quite a bit of information about the divine palace. However, what surprised Su Yan was that Zuonbong was even wary of the strange beast guarding his door and didn't give it the permission to enter. Even so, Su Yan still found a way to escape inside. His body quickly shrank, and he drilled into the strange beast's body. Zuonbong is in seclusion. This is a chance. The already dead, mutated beast directly entered the palace door. The palace door was like a deep pool of water, and the mutated beast's corpses directly entered through the walls. This divine spirit palace had definitely been built with a large amount of spatial materials. It was extremely valuable. The palace door was like a giant passage. It was filled with an ancient aura, and there were small chambers in the passage. Treasure vault. It could very well be Zuonbong's private stash. Su Yan's eyes lit up. This spatial palace was Zuonbong's cultivation palace. In other words, there were many good things in this spatial palace. These were probably the treasures that Zuonbong had accumulated. Su Yan's methods were extremely ferocious. He walked forward and blasted open one secret room after another. Normally, these secret chambers were managed by the strange beast. It would collect all the treasures and store them in its treasure vault. Zuonbong had always carried this spatial palace with him. Perhaps Zuonbong would never have imagined that someone had barged in and opened his treasure vault. In the giant passage, the light of treasures surged. Every secret chamber was piled with all kinds of heavenly treasures. Su Yan's eyes turned red. This Zuonbong was the son of a great expert, the little ancestor of the ancestral hall. His wealth was unimaginable. Even in this small treasure vault, there was still an astonishing amount of wealth. Su Yan had once obtained Xian's spatial treasure, but a spatial treasure couldn't compare to Zuonbong's spatial palace. This was an important treasure vault of a large clan. It stored all kinds of treasures that would make the world go green with envy. Heavens, there are more than a dozen quasi-sage medicines in this small treasure vault alone. Su Yan was scared out of his wits. Zuonbong's wealth was simply too frightening. A mere small treasury like this actually contains such a large amount of rare ancient medicines, many of which Su Yan had never even heard of before. Of course, the most valuable ones were the quasi-sage medicines. They were overflowing with multicolored light and blossomed with precious splendor. They were close to nurturing a complete great Tao. Su Yan speculated that the Ancestral Hall should have handed over all the precious resources in the Ancestral Hall's resource lands to Zuonbong. That was why Zuonbong had accumulated such a terrifying amount of wealth. The quasi-sage medicines were priceless. Every quasi-sage medicine contained a vast amount of life essence. If these precious medicines were planted in a medicinal field, they would definitely be able to create a paradise. These quasi-sage medicines could absorb the essence of heaven and earth on their own. Their value was immeasurable. Su Yan emptied the treasure vault in one go. In the second treasure vault, there were all kinds of weapons. In Zuonbong's eyes, anything that wasn't a Tao divine weapon wasn't qualified to be placed here. There were many ancient artifacts of all kinds. What made Su Yan's eyes turn red was that there were some damaged divine weapons. These were too important. Even if these divine weapons were damaged, their value was still astonishing. Primal Chaos Armor? Su Yan was astonished. He fished out the most valuable treasure. This was a golden battle armor that was suffused with the aura of Primal Chaos. The entire battle armor was engraved with profound heavenly marks of the Great Tao. The streaks were like rivers of primal chaos, and they emitted powerful fluctuations. Su Yan directly put on the Primal Chaos armor. This was equivalent to a primal chaos divine weapon, and it was even a defensive battle armor. Its value was too high. Normally, this kind of battle armor would be able to block a portion of the Divine King's energy. Damn, I'm rich. Su Yin emptied the entire treasure vault. The third treasure vault was filled with all kinds of heavenly treasures. There were also quite a few limited-grade resources. He didn't have time to inspect them now. He had to take them all first. In short, Su Yan's wealth soared at a terrifying speed. He had accumulated wealth in the Divine Mountain Range that was enough to make the eyes of gods red with envy. If this momentum continued, Su Yin would become a rich man in the future. Su Yin swept everything away and quickly pressed forward. At the end of the passage, there was an enormous formation disk that was suffused with killing energy. This killing formation was extremely powerful, and it was in a constantly activated state. This was also the only way for Zhu Onbong to leave the spatial palace. This is it. If I barge in, I can kill Zhu Onbong and cripple the Ancestral Hall's ancient ancestor's son. Killing intent surged in Su Yan's heart. He stared at the killing formation and observed it closely. Then, he felt a headache coming on. The killing formation was constantly in operation, and it was constantly vibrating with overwhelming killing energy. If Su Yin barged in, he would definitely be targeted by the killing formation. I don't have any more forbidden formations. Even if I can refine one, if I use it to suppress the killing formation, Zhu Onbong will be alerted. Su Yin scratched his head and muttered inwardly. This is the path he has to take to get out. If he wakes up, it'll be too difficult to kill him here. I have to ambush him without him noticing and injure him severely. Soon, Su Yin came to a decision. He felt that it was risky to barge in. His goal was to kill Zhu Onbong. This was the Ancestral Hall's resource land. If he couldn't accomplish this quickly, it would be difficult to kill Zhu Onbong later. Wang. He opened his martial Dao celestial eye and observed the killing formation. He found that not only did the killing formation contain shocking killing energy, but it was also a formation within a formation. There was even a spatial formation within it that was constantly operating. Su Yan's heart skipped a beat. This array within an array should lead to the killing array. Let's wait for him to come out. Su Yan pondered for a moment. Then he flicked his sleeves and took out some of the secret treasures he had obtained earlier. All kinds of ancient formation discs fell to the ground. These were all formations from Zhu Onbong's treasury, and they were not weak at all. Su Yin set up a large number of formations in the passage. At the same time, he used the power of the yin-yang compass to conceal the traces of the killing formation. It's done. Let's wait for him to come out. Su Yin squatted inside. It was as if he had disappeared into the spatial palace, waiting for Zhu Onbong to come out. Time slowly passed. It was already nighttime. This was the last night of Su Yin and Zhu Onbong's battle. The storm in the Divine Mountain Range continued, and the tremors grew more and more intense. News of Shueguan's reappearance spread throughout the various tribes. He was competing with the Sun Dome with a peerless stance, and the outcome was unknown. This caused Shueguan's prestige to skyrocket in just a single day. The four top figures of the Divine Spiritual Mountain Range's younger generation are joining forces to deal with Madman Su. The four great figures are all prideful. They won't go so far as to join forces. The key is who will make the first move. Tomorrow is the day of the battle between Su Yin and the Ancestral Hall's little ancestor. However, judging from Shueguan's attitude, it seems like he also wants to kill Su Yin to establish his might. The show is on, but Su Yin has escaped. Not a single strand of hair is left behind in Hokuto's resource lands. This battle will be postponed indefinitely. The Divine Mountain Range was in an uproar. Just how shocking was the shock caused by this matter? Everyone looked at the young giants who were rising like superstars. Shueguan traveled through the various regions of the Divine Mountain Range, and even went to Danger Zone 6. He kept saying that he wanted Su Yin to come out and fight. The two great overlords of the Big Dipper bloodline. Who will be the king? Each star field can only have one representative. Who will be the Big Dipper Supreme? Regardless of whether it was Su Yin or Shueguan, They were both peak characters who could shake their generation. It was difficult to judge who was stronger. There were also people who glanced at the Ancestral Hall's resource lands. It was already nighttime, and the Ancestral Hall's resource lands were extremely restless. Some of the veteran experts were furious. A large group of cultivators rushed out. One of them said with a gloomy expression, "Su Yin, your attitude when accepting the challenge was very tyrannical. But why did you run away so quickly? This tiger fighting snake. Get the hell out here and accept your punishment." According to the time, Su Yin should have escaped on the day the little ancestor issued the challenge. He wasn't scared away by Shui Guan. "Su Yin, are you that afraid of our clan's little ancestor? You don't dare to come out and confront the little ancestor directly? What kind of great winds and ways has a descendant of a loser seen? He must have been scared away long ago." Many experts rushed out of the Ancestral Hall. They were all furious because the plan had exceeded their expectations. This was especially true of Qi Gao. His expression was unsightly. He had laid down an inescapable net and was waiting for Su Yin to arrive. But he couldn't even see his shadow. This caused Qi Gao's expression to become even more unsightly. He had suffered too much at the hands of Su Yin. He seriously suspected that the 3 great celestial soldiers were obtained from the oasis. There was even the myriad dragon tree. Whenever Qi Gao thought of this, his heart would bleed. This was a priceless, immortal treasure, the myriad dragon tree. It had definitely fallen into Su Yan's hands. "Ah, little bastard, why aren't you here yet?" Qi Gao was extremely angry. He had spent an endless amount of effort to create this extremely fierce land. He wanted to catch all of Su Yin in one fell swoop, but even now, he still couldn't see Su Yan's shadow. The people of the Ancestral Hall had lost their patience. They rushed out in large numbers, crossing the mountains and rivers. They cursed and slandered Su Yin. They were venting the anger in their hearts. And here in the Spatial Palace, Su Yin had been squatting for almost an entire night. "He's here." Chapter 564. I really overestimated him. Murmurs came from the formation, accompanied by disappointment. Some time ago, Zhu Onbong had come into contact with Qi Gao. Based on Su Yan's previous actions, Qi Gao thought that Su Yin dared to sneak into the Ancestral Hall's resource land and launch a sneak attack on Zhu Onbong. But in reality, Zhu Onbong felt that Su Yin didn't have the guts at all. As he expected, Su Yin didn't show up at all. The atmosphere in the Spatial Palace was quiet. On the other side of the formation, the figure walking over became clearer and clearer. Compared to several years ago, the current Zhu Onbong had transformed. His body was like a bottomless world, exuding a powerful and peerless aura. Zhu Onbong's entire body exuded a ripple that swallowed space. He had a supreme body and had completed the refinement of the Dao body pill. His physical body had established a peerless foundation, and his future was limitless. Now, he had even stepped into the great Dao realm. The current Zhu Onbong possessed peerless battle prowess just by relying on his physical body alone. He was like a great abyss, bottomless. Regardless of whether it was his aura or battle prowess, they were both at the pinnacle. He had the supreme might to look down on those of the same generation. In fact, there was still extremely rich residual might of the great Dao left on his body. Zhu Onbong had used the origin treasured liquid to cross into the great Dao realm. So how could he not be powerful? Moreover, he had a supreme body to begin with. Coupled with the Ancestral Hall's foundation, the current Zhu Onbong had completely transformed. It's time to kill Su Yin. I hope that he has accepted the challenge. The day of the final battle will come soon. Back then, he had suffered greatly at the hands of Su Yin, and this matter was engraved in his heart. Now that he had come out of seclusion, the first thing he wanted to do was to settle the score with Su Yin. When Zhu Onbong stepped out of the formation and arrived at the passageway, he frowned. He looked around suspiciously, feeling that there was something wrong with the world. However, Zhu Onbong couldn't tell what it was. Am I hallucinating? He was a little alarmed, and then he laughed. This was his spatial treasure. Zhu Onbong walked out with large strides. He had just taken a few steps when he sensed that something was wrong. Where did his guardian beast go? Zuonbong suddenly felt an ominous feeling. It was as if something was staring at him, and it made him feel a chill run down his back. Something's not right. Zuonbong's heart skipped a beat when he noticed this change in his own spatial palace. Just as he sensed this ominous aura, the entire channel seemed to transform into a massive black hole. Dozens of killing arrays were instantly activated, turning the entire channel into a monstrous purgatory world. A dazzling golden rope tore through the air and bound Zuonbong. Immortal binding rope. Zuonbong felt as if his scalp was going to explode. Fear rose in his heart. Is the Dark Nether race targeting me? Zuonbong didn't have time to think. He didn't even have the time to shout and inform the experts outside. His body was instantly activated, and the ancient power of the firmament filled the air. It was the supreme power of the firmament that belonged to him. In the instant that he was bound by the immortal binding rope, Zuonbong erupted with all his might. It had to be said that he was truly powerful. He was like a god that had been imprisoned, trying to break free from the immortal binding rope with his own strength. However, he had underestimated this treasure. This was something that the divine king of the Dark Nether race had given to him specifically to deal with Su Yin. Once it was bound by the immortal binding rope, it would be extremely difficult to break it with brute force. Bastard! Zuonbong was enraged. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't break free from the immortal binding rope's bindings. In fact, the spatial palace had already turned into a sea of killing formations. Boundless killing formations flooded over, drowning Zuonbong. Zuonbong screamed in pain. No matter how strong his physical body was, in the face of such a terrifying killing array, his body was stained with blood. Even the firmament battle body was on the verge of exploding. Who did this? Get the hell out here! Zuonbong roared furiously. His forehead shone with a dazzling black light. Zuonbong's primordial spirit had awakened at lightning speed. The black primordial spirit's soul chi was overwhelming, and it was carrying a black sword embryo. The moment it awakened, it released a torrential sword light surrounded by chaotic light. It was incomparably sharp. This was definitely a supreme treasure. It was a primordial spirit weapon. The chaotic light it released caused the killing arrays in the surroundings to explode one after another. This sword embryo was extremely powerful. It was an extremely rare primordial spirit weapon with peerless offensive power. The immortal binding rope only targeted the physical body. It couldn't suppress Zuonbong's primordial spirit. He swept the sword with his primordial spirit, trying to kill his way out. Boom! All of a sudden, a demonic sound that seemed to come from hell was deafening. The entire passageway rumbled. A peerless sharp aura bloomed. A terrifying golden bow was drawn at lightning speed. The bow's aura was terrifying. The space shattered in a blur. This golden bow was extremely domineering. The golden arrow light it shot out was like a sun. It crossed over and slammed into Zuonbong. It's you. So it's you, Su Yin. Zuonbong almost went crazy. His hair was disheveled, and his eyes were bloodshot. He stared at Su Yin ferociously. In fact, when he saw Su Yin's primal chaos armor, Zuonbong's face turned green with anger. Su Yin had ransacked his nest, and had even been waiting here for some time. Being waited at the door by his own enemy made Zuonbong extremely furious. In fact, the aura of the golden bow caused goosebumps to appear all over Zuonbong's body. He roared furiously. Even though the immortal binding rope was suppressing his body, he was still able to use his Tao. The great Tao of the heavens within him was overturned. It was as if a black abyss had attacked. Black light surged between heaven and earth. Tens of thousands of layers were released, covering the path ahead to block Su Yan's power. Boom! However, the arrow light shot out from the bow was too powerful and domineering. Su Yan drove it with the solar fist. What great Tao of the firmament! Everything exploded. Even a light that shot out was about to devour Zuonbong. Zuonbong screamed and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. One of his legs had been blasted apart by Su Yan's arrow. If he hadn't used the power of the great Tao to block it, and buy himself time to switch positions, that arrow would have been enough to take his head. Die! Su Yin pounced and drew the bow again. The divine power in his body surged, and he drew the bow a total of 5 times. Each time, he released the full power of the bow. Xiao xiao xiao. The golden bow hummed. It was as if a demonic weapon was being unsealed. 5 layers of golden light surged out, as if 5 great suns were flying together to bombard Zhu Onbong. Bastard! Zhu Onbong seemed to have gone mad. Before the aura could reach him, his body had already been torn apart by the arrow light. He let out a howl of anguish. He opened his mouth and spat out an ancient mirror suffused with primal chaos light. If he didn't use his trump card now, he would definitely die here. This is the bone mirror of a great expert. I can't fight it head-on. Su Yan's eyes narrowed. He had been on guard against this great killing weapon all this time. This was a supreme treasure refined from the precious bones of a great expert. If he was struck by it, the consequences would be unimaginable. Back then, he had witnessed the might of this item on the bipolar star. It could even reverse time and retrace the events of the past. Now that the bone mirror had awakened, a hazy gray mist rising from it. Its aura was extremely terrifying. Under the illumination of the bone mirror, the 5 arrows were all frozen in place. Die! Su Yin immediately let out a battle cry. His hair danced wildly, and the golden bow shone brightly. He drew the bow again and shot another arrow at Zhu Onbong with terrifying speed. Su Yin, just you wait. Just you wait. Zhu Onbong was flustered and exasperated. He was going to kill him. Zhu Onbong was originally full of confidence. He wanted to find Su Yin and beat him up until he was crippled. But now, Su Yin was squatting here and trying to kill him. This made Zhu Onbong so angry that he felt like he was about to fly into the air. There was no need to mention how furious he was. Moreover, he was seriously injured. Zhu Onbong was very decisive. He gave up on the bone mirror and used it to guard this place. He sealed the sky and earth and bought precious time for himself. Just as Zhu Onbong entered the spatial formation within the formation, Su Yin rushed over. His fist glowed, and the sound of dragons and tigers reverberated in the air. His fist was like a floating light that pierced through space-time, releasing terrifying power. Fist of Time. Su Yin let out a low roar. He punched out with unstoppable force. Bam! No matter how strong Su Yan's great Tao cultivation was, Zhu Onbong was still struck by lightning by Su Yan's indiscriminate fist technique. The instant the great Tao in the sky collapsed, a bowl-sized bloody hole appeared on his chest from Su Yan's fist. Blood splattered through his back. Zhu Onbong was in so much pain that he wanted to die. He was about to faint. What kind of fist technique is this? Zhu Onbong was shocked. The bone mirror was floating in front of him, guarding space and time. However, he never expected Su Yin to be able to penetrate the seal and severely injure him. How did Su Yin grasp such a freakish power? This shouldn't be something that he could learn at his cultivation level. This was undoubtedly Zhu Onbong's strength. After being struck by Su Yan's fist, although he was severely injured, he was still alive. Zhu Onbong, you can't escape. Su Yan's killing intent surged. He had already pounced over. The primal chaos armor on his body shone brightly. Its defensive power was astonishing. He directly closed in on the bone mirror. He struck out with both hands, wanting to suppress the bone mirror. There would definitely be an intense collision. The bone mirror wasn't that easy to suppress. While Su Yin suppressed the bone mirror, he activated the primal chaos killing seal and smashed it at Zhu Onbong. Zhu Onbong had already escaped into the killing formation. The primal chaos killing seal almost caused the killing formation to collapse. Damn it! Why is there another spatial killing formation? Su Yin pretended to be angry. He had already chased after Zhu Onbong and was about to pounce on him. Su Yin's shocked voice made Zhu Onbong's eyes flash with a sinister glint. He had escaped into the spatial formation. He felt that Su Yin would definitely come. Once he came, he would definitely be surrounded. He would definitely be able to trick Su Yin. I'm going to tear him to pieces. Very soon, Zhu Onbong roared in his heart. The son of the ancestral hall's ancient ancestor had suffered greatly at the hands of Su Yin. It was too miserable, especially this time. Zhu Onbong let out a shrill cry, pretending to be severely injured. Chapter 565. Many experts from the ancestral hall have come, and they look like they're confident in defeating Su Yin. How strong is Zhu Onbong now? The divine spiritual mountain range was in an uproar. A large number of experts from the ancestral hall rushed out of the resource lands, crossing the various great resource lands to force Su Yin out. In short, the four great experts all wanted to target Madman Su. This matter had already spread like wildfire, causing a huge commotion. It's a pity that such a great killing trap couldn't lure Su Yin out. We overestimated him. The killing trap that Qi Gao painstakingly created was equivalent to being wasted. The group of old experts from the Ancestral Hall were extremely displeased. For this, the Ancestral Hall also paid a price, taking out many precious materials to cooperate with Qi Gao. This was a killing trap set up by Grandmaster Cult Arts. Together with the Ancestral Hall's foundation and Qi Gao's contributions, this killing formation was so great that even deities would be in danger of dying if they barged in. Su Yin would definitely be killed if he barged in. Let's wait for little ancestor to come out. Su Yin is hiding now, so we can't do anything to him. The sky had already brightened, and the day of Su Yin and Zhu Onbong's battle was also approaching. The dozen or so old experts gathered in this palace stood out, all of them with gloomy expressions, not knowing how to report this matter. When the silent spatial formation in the palace flickered with light, the expressions of the experts gathered here became solemn. Little ancestor is here. They hurriedly went over, bending their backs and knees, using the highest etiquette to welcome Zhu Onbong. After all, Zhu Onbong, who had stepped into the great Dao realm, had a completely different identity and status. In the Ancestral Hall, he was on equal footing with deities. Roar! Suddenly, a shrill roar sounded from the space of the killing formation. The expressions of these dozen or so old experts changed on the spot, and they almost fell to the ground. They could all tell that this was Zhu Onbong's voice, and it was extremely miserable. Could it be that little ancestor had encountered some kind of accident? The roar was very fierce, shaking the entire palace, and even transmitted out, causing a commotion in this killing formation, causing the killing formation to become chaotic. What happened? Qi Gao was the first to barge in. Like an old rabbit, he fled into the palace and saw Zhu Onbong, who had barged out of the killing formation. This is bad, little ancestor. What happened to you? Could it be that there was an accident during his seclusion? The hall was suddenly filled with killing intent, and the faces of the dozen or so veteran experts changed. Zhu Onbong's injuries were extremely severe. He was missing a leg, and there was a bowl-sized hole in his chest that was bleeding profusely. His injuries were simply too severe. Even the immortal binding rope had been dyed black. How could this be? Qi Gao was also scared out of his wits. If something happened to Zhu Onbong, the Ancestral Hall would definitely go crazy. It was very likely that even a powerful expert would come out of seclusion. Quick! Zhu Onbong bellowed furiously. Su Yin is coming. He's right behind us. Get ready. What? Did Su Yin do it? The eyes of the Ancestral Palace's experts all turned red. How could something like this happen? They had set up a killing trap here, waiting for Su Yin's arrival. But how did Su Yin manage to find his way to Zhu Onbong's location, and even beat him up so badly? They didn't have time to think. All they knew was that Su Yin had already arrived, and that Zhu Onbong was seriously injured. Qi Gao was immediately overjoyed. He roared, "All of you, hurry up and leave. Let me deal with him. I'm going to tear this little bastard into pieces." Qi Gao was beyond excited. He had set up so many killing traps, all for the sake of killing Su Yin. Hurry up and leave. The Ancestral Hall's experts hurriedly brought Zhu Onbong away. Meanwhile, from the great spatial formation in the Great Hall, another figure barged in. Qi Gao let out a wild laugh of excitement. He felt that there were no more surprises. they would definitely be able to capture Su Yin alive. You're finally here. Qi Gao's face was filled with resentment. He could already see the figure in the space of the killing formation that was about to cross over. He raised his head and roared, "Activate the killing formation for me. Destroy Su Yin. Overturn this place, sink it, and destroy everything." Boom! A loud explosion rang out just like that. It was so loud that it could split the sky, shaking heaven and earth. Not to mention the ancestral hall's resource land. Even the vast divine spiritual mountain range had a loud sound spreading out. It swept across 100,000 li of rivers and mountains. It could be said that 10,000 mountains were overturned. Great waves surged out, drowning out a corner of heaven and earth. What happened? Why is there such a huge commotion? It sounds like it's coming from very far away. Quickly look, something big is definitely happening in the ancestral hall's resource land. Many creatures looked over, and their expressions changed. In the direction of the source, a huge mushroom cloud rose up. It was as if 10,000 li of rivers and mountains had exploded in an instant, collapsing, and overflowing smoke and dust were lifted up. The terrifying and boundless momentum was vast and mighty for 100,000 li. The sky was dyed red with blood, and the energy fluctuations were so great that it shook the hearts of people. Countless mountains collapsed in unison. A great killing formation at the peak. Someone cried out in alarm. This killing formation was too spectacular. The power of heaven and earth merged together, turning into a blood-colored purgatory. It emitted a furious killing intent that wanted to devour the sea of stars and destroy the universe's celestial bodies. 10,000 li of rivers and mountains trembled. The energy ripples were extremely shocking. Sundome and King Flash stood out to take a look. They both sucked in a cold breath of air. What kind of killing formation was this? They reckoned it could even kill deities. This was an exceptional great killing formation formed from endless divine materials and all types of heavenly treasures. Together with the power of heaven and earth, Qi Gao was sure it could kill deities. The price had to be extremely high. Apart from being shocked, their expressions became somewhat cold. They thought about the matter of the treasure land. Why did they feel that this killing formation was somewhat similar to the treasure land? Heavens, what happened in the ancestral hall's resource land? Don't tell me, madman, Su has slaughtered his way in. Someone cried out in alarm. The scene was just too inconceivable. Everything within 100,000 li was trembling. These words made many people feel suffocated. Could it be that Madman Su was attacking the ancestral hall's ancestral source? Ha ha ha! However, just as the killing formation was about to erupt, explosive laughter spread throughout the boundless rivers and mountains. It was an unexpected scene. The people of the ancestral hall weren't angry, but instead happy. One after another, experts stood in the territories of various races. They looked at the scene of the killing formation and actually raised their heads to the sky and laughed. They were laughing, as if they had encountered a joyous occasion. This made others unable to understand. What kind of situation was this? This was the situation of the ancestral hall's resource land. Soon after, a piece of news spread through the Divine Mountain Range with shocking speed. Someone heard the ancestral hall's experts laugh loudly. Good. That trash Su Yin has finally fallen for the trap. Since he has already charged into the killing formation, he will undoubtedly die. There were even people who said arrogantly, "Everyone, those who have received our ancestral hall's invitation, can come to our ancestral hall's resource land to see Madman Su's end. If you don't seek death, you won't die." Do you think that our ancestral hall's resource land is so easy to barge into? Ha! You even want to kill our clan's little ancestor? What wishful thinking. This news left everyone flabbergasted. The activation of the killing formation had something to do with Su Yin. Since the killing formation had been activated, it meant that Su Yin had already escaped into the resource lands. Qi Gao had opened up the space within the killing formation when he was trying to kill Zhu Onbong. Impossible. Tensor's expression changed. He didn't believe that Su Yin would be trapped. Su Yin was also a grandmaster of the occult arts, so how could he have fallen for this trap? However, the people of the ancestral hall were all laughing. They said that Su Yin had already been killed and turned into a pile of dregs. This was all a trap set up for Su Yin. Regardless of whether they believed it or not, there were too many people who were swarming towards the resource land. Haha, little ancestor, look. This is the first time I've seen such brilliant fireworks in my life. The scene inside must be very exciting. A young expert laughed loudly. Su Yin, oh Su Yin, you've finally been executed. Qi Gao should reward you greatly. I didn't expect his prediction to be so accurate. He actually predicted that Su Yin would come for the kill. Little ancestor, this is a great contribution. When this news reaches the ancestral hall, the entire clan will be shaken. A dozen or so veteran experts carried the heavily injured Zhu Onbong to the side of the killing trap. They used their great magic power to suppress the energy ripples that spread out. They were all laughing. Once this killing trap was ignited, it was undoubtedly a waste of money. However, as long as they could suppress Su Yin, all of the expenses would be worth it. Sigh. Zhu Onbong sighed softly. The only thing he felt disappointed about was that he couldn't personally capture Su Yin. He had suffered too much this time, but he also felt that he had turned the tables. However, Zhu Onbong still felt that something was wrong. He couldn't pinpoint exactly what had gone wrong. After all, from the moment Su Yin attacked him until now, Zhu Onbong's mind had been extremely tense. He didn't even dare to breathe loudly. After all, the slightest mistake could lead to his death. Now that he had relaxed, his entire body was filled with heart-wrenching pain. This is the immortal binding rope. It's a type of imitation. It can be dispelled. There was already a veteran expert with sharp eyes. He took out a shiny divine saber and prepared to sever the immortal binding rope. He was very familiar with the immortal binding rope in the ancestral hall. He really had a way to deal with it. After Qi Gao captures Su Yin alive, we will reward him handsomely. Zhu Onbong didn't leave. He focused all of his attention on the burning, killing trap. The scene within the killing trap was too blurry, impossible to see clearly. However, the massive ancient resource land trembled, the murderous aura surging out too ferociously. Endless murderous aura surged, using destructive methods to carry out an all-encompassing slaughter. It had to be said that it was shockingly similar to the killing trap in the Super Treasure Land. Miserable cries reverberated. They could even hear it. The veteran experts were overjoyed. They seemed to be able to see Su Yan's final struggle. Even the miserable cries were getting closer and closer to them. Their faces were filled with smiles, like blooming chrysanthemums. Su Yan is about to be executed. I seem to see him heavily injured and captured alive by Grandmaster Qi Gao. They were all laughing. They were extremely pleased with themselves. They didn't even blink as they looked at the killing trap. Look, he's been beaten out. Then they saw a figure covered in blood. He rolled out of the killing trap and fell heavily to the ground. His appearance was too miserable. No one could recognize him. I can't accept this. He let out a miserable cry. The bones in his body had been shattered. He couldn't even crawl up. His life source had been completely scattered. He was about to die. Ha ha ha. The veteran experts of the ancestral hall walked over. They looked at his forehead and mocked. What time is it now? Our ancestral hall has already paid the price. What's there to be unsatisfied about? Su Yin, quickly submit to the law. Just this little price? Your ancestral hall's appetite is not small. Su Yin stepped out of the killing trap. Divine light erupted from his body. Step after step, divine might overflowed. Chapter 566. A wisp of terrifying killing intent engulfed the entire place. The aura was ice cold, and even the void began to crumble inch by inch. This strand of killing intent was too astonishing. It enveloped the entire area, as if a vast ocean was overturning, crowding the rivers and mountains. It also began to surge like a raging sea, surging and surging violently, causing this world to change color. Many mountains silently shattered. Qi Gao released a miserable cry. He couldn't hold on any longer. Even now, he still didn't dare believe that something like this would happen. How did Su Yin know the method to enter and exit the killing trap? This was something he had painstakingly set up. You bastard, you've screwed me over. Qi Gao's ruined body began to shatter. At the critical moment, he finally understood. This was all Zhu Anbong's doing. Su Yin must have known about the killing trap long ago. Otherwise, the first person Su Yin would have killed wouldn't have been Zhu Anbong, but a wisp of Zhu Anbong's incarnation. How could this be? How could Su Yin be unharmed? Didn't they say that the killing trap could kill deities? That old bastard Qi Gao is actually dead. The expressions of the dozen or so veteran experts from the ancestral hall were frighteningly ugly. How could something like this happen? Shouldn't the one trapped in the killing trap be Su Yin? Why was he completely fine? Why was it like this? In fact, not only was Su Yin unharmed, they felt that Su Yin was even stronger than before. He was like a deity towering between heaven and earth. Those 2 jars of great Tao evolution liquid weren't just for show. They allowed Su Yan's battle prowess to soar by a large margin. Now, he stood towering here like a dormant, raging sea that was suffused with energy ripples that overturned rivers and seas. It was like the Milky Way had descended from the 9 heavens, and it shook the 10+ old experts to the point their hair stood on end while great terror arose in their hearts. Little ancestor, run, run. The dozen or so experts roared furiously, their eyes bloodshot. It was too late to say anything now. Su Yan's goal was to kill Zhu Anbong. Zhu Anbong couldn't fall to Su Yan's hands again. He had just risen, and his glorious era hadn't arrived yet. How could he repeatedly suffer at the hands of the same person? Boom! The mountains and rivers cried out together. A great imprint appeared, swirling with chaotic energy. The primal chaos great seal was brought out by Su Yin. It fell from the sky, as if thousands of great mountains were arranged in the sky. This kind of world-shocking suppressive power crushed the space and caused the earth to cave in. Everything was about to be turned into ashes. Kill! Su Yan's entire body erupted with divine light. His pupils released a resplendent, murderous aura. He had just made his move and was already in his strongest state. With a loud roar, a huge golden iron bull appeared behind him and began to roar as it swallowed the moon. Moo! The bull's roar split the sky, and it was enough to shake the crowd. The roar of the supreme barbaric bull rumbled unceasingly in the sky and on the ground. It was accompanied by the formation of the primal chaos killing seals, and it furiously surged towards the dozen or so veteran experts. For a time, this group of experts trembled all over as if they had been struck by lightning. The sound waves were deafening and even drilled into their bodies through their pores, causing their bones and internal organs to show signs of being torn apart. PFFF. They were all coughing out blood and couldn't withstand the might of Su Yan's roar. There were even some veteran experts who were sent flying and exploded into a bloody mist. They were crushed alive by Su Yan's roar. The primal chaos killing seal finally came crashing down. It was incomparably heavy. A few old experts frantically rushed up and took out their divine spears to block it. Kill! Su Yan's entire body emitted an iron-blooded killing intent. The Overlord who had slaughtered his way through the divine mountain range had awakened. His blazing essence blood was ignited and engulfed the world, forming a vast universe prison on the spot. It could be said that a peerless domain was operating, sealing the heaven and earth. It was an intimidating scene. Su Yan's awakening had alarmed the vast resource lands of the ancestral hall. In a distant world, experts from all directions were rushing over. They all saw the awakened figure next to the killing formation and felt a chill from head to toe. These people were all soldiers of the ancestral hall. They were losing control and roaring continuously. The group of heroes beneath his feet were miserable beyond words. Su Yin slaughtered his way over. His own strength combined with the primal chaos-killing seal smashed several people to death on the spot. Zhu Anbong, I have come to kill you. Su Yin was like a peerless divine king who had descended into the lower realm. His head of long black hair scattered down like a waterfall. His moves were large and powerful, releasing terrifying fluctuations as he bombarded forward. A bloody path was born, a bloody path where a mighty overlord would nurse a grievance. Everything was going according to plan. The ancestral hall's little ancestor rushed over angrily like an enormous golden lion, covering the sky. All the experts who stood in his way trembled in despair. They couldn't stop Su Yan at all. The other party's fighting strength was at the peak of perfection, enough to make them feel despair. Just the surging power alone was enough to make some experts tremble uncontrollably. One after another, veteran experts were sent flying in all directions in pain. Su Yan's killing intent was like a heavenly blade. It was released and pierced through the great universe. It's Su Yan. The ancestral hall soldiers who were slaughtering their way over felt great fear. They saw the young overlord who rose up in the ancestral hall's resource land, but they could only brace themselves and rush over to help. However, when they were about to reach the battlefield, they were all swept up in this storm. The vast great region trembled. It began to tremble along with Su Yan's fist aura. He was erupting. With every raise of his hand, a terrifying domain seeped out, affecting all things in the mountains and rivers. There were creatures that were disintegrated under this might. Who could stop him? Su Yan displayed his peak fighting strength. He rushed over, filling the sky with corpses. He was iron-blooded and tyrannical. He swept through the battlefield, killing until corpses were strewn everywhere. Zhuanbong has come to accept his death. Su Yan was about to kill Zhuanbong. The latter had been silent all this time. The immortal binding rope that bound him was about to break. Zhuanbong had also swallowed several types of rare secret medicine. His injured body began to recover, and even the leg that had exploded earlier was about to recover. Facing such a savage, Su Yan who wanted to slaughter him, Zhuanbong felt pain. He shouted angrily, "Su Yan, you've tried to kill me again and again. Do you think you're invincible? Today, I'll grind your bones to dust and let you know what it means to be a king of the same generation." Wong. Black light surged from Zhuanbong's body. The potential of the supreme body could be seen at a glance. The magnificent firmament world was born, and it emitted a divine domain that could replace the heavens. "Bullshit, I'm a king of kings," Su Yan replied disdainfully. "Su Yan, don't be complacent too early. If I, Zhuanbong, can't even suppress you, how can I become a supreme being?" He roared angrily, like a rising supreme. Although his physical body was injured, Zhuanbong's fighting strength couldn't be ignored. The ancestral hall's ancient heavenly art circulated, and the power of his firmament body was awakened to the extreme. Boom! The entire starry sky darkened, as if it was covered by the heavens, and filled with the aura of a supreme being. This was the power of a supreme body. When Zhuanbong erupted to the extreme, a terrifying aura flowed out, as if a young supreme being had awakened from a deep slumber. His roar shook the mountains and rivers, and it had to be said that his divine power was unparalleled. Little ancestor. Look, the little ancestor has awakened his supreme body. The little ancestor is too strong. His might suppressed Madman Guy Su's aura in one move. The world was filled with exclamations. The soldiers of the ancestral hall were crazy with excitement. They saw Zhuanbong standing at the peak of darkness, turning into the ruler of the heavens, looking down on the universe. The little ancestor is invincible. His magic power is boundless, and he is invincible. Invincible, invincible, invincible. The soldiers of the ancestral hall cheered madly. In their hearts, the firmament body was an invincible constitution. Now, they saw how powerful Zhuanbong was, releasing the aura of a supreme being, the power to dominate the world. I seem to have seen the power of the firmament body. It seems like it's true. The battle has begun. Madman Guy Su is trapped in the killing trap and has suffered heavy injuries. In the distant world, too many people rushed over to watch this peak confrontation. This could also be called the strongest battle between the younger generation of the Ancestral Hall and the Ancestral Hall. Everyone saw the world turn dark as boundless power of the heavens enveloped down. This was the energy of the firmament body, surging with supreme might. It could be said that Zhu Onbong was an invincible god of war in the heavens. I will use the power of the firmament body to destroy you. Zhu Onbong's lofty aspirations were restored. The strength in his body gave him confidence. Zhu Onbong's expression was cold. He released the most terrifying energy and the power of the firmament great Tao. His combat strength soared to the limit. The surrounding tens of thousands of li were plunged into darkness. It was as if a dark firmament was born, and only he existed eternally, illuminating the world. Moreover, he formed hand seals, operating the Great Firmament Seal. The Great Firmament Seal was driven by the power of the firmament body. It was like the source of the firmament, revealing a power that could suppress the universe. It began to bombard downward. The storm of divine energy that filled the sky was spectacular. It fell from the sky, accompanied by the Great Firmament Killing Seal, revealing a power that could kill all enemies of the heavens. Kill! Zhu Onbong let out a long roar. It could be said that he used the strongest source of energy to bombard downward, wanting to destroy Su Yan. It was as if the darkness had arrived and purgatory had opened. The Great Firmament Seal fell from the sky, wrapped in world-destroying energy ripples, wanting to directly devour Su Yan. What a terrifying killing seal. Is this the power of the firmament body, the invincible power of the ancestral hall? The experts who arrived one after another were stunned. This was a rather shocking scene. Everyone felt as if they had seen a peak overlord being obliterated, and all creatures submitting at Zhu Onbong's feet. However, in the darkness, there was an extremely brilliant golden divine light erupting. It was like an extremely magnificent golden prison, sweeping across the mountains and rivers, including the darkness, as if it encompassed the entire firmament world. It surged out, surging like an ocean of iron and blood-killing intent. The one I'm killing is precisely the firmament body. A loud shout rang out, containing Su Yan's iron and blood tyrannical spiritual will. A sea of chaos appeared behind him, and a terrifying aura arose, causing the heavens to tremble. Boom! It was a fist wrapped in the thunderous sound of the 9 heavens, ruthlessly punching out. Kill! Su Yan roared, his courage unmatched. His hair danced in the wind, his appearance majestic and domineering as he raised his fist and punched the sky. How valiant was Su Yan! His physical body was extremely strong, and his battle prowess was heaven-defying. Once he erupted, golden blood essence filled the sky, outlining a fist comparable to the stars in the universe. Boom! This fist contained an invincible force, and it smashed forward while dripping with blood. The entire world of darkness was shattered, and the great killing seal exploded. The supreme fist aura pierced through the rainbow, exploding everything, incomparably domineering. Puffed. Zhu Onbong flew into the sky, coughing out large mouthfuls of blood. This fist was too terrifying, about to shatter his spiritual will. I'm invincible. How can I be defeated? Zhu Onbong roared madly. He didn't understand. He had the firmament great Tao with the help of the origin precious liquid, but why was he defeated so miserably? How could he not be a match for Su Yan? Roar. Chapter 567. The incomparably domineering fist aura shook the sky. Moreover, the energy fluctuation that was derived from it swept out in all directions, causing the mountains and rivers within thousands of miles to tremble. Countless clouds were blasted apart as the clouds were scattered by Su Yan's attack. A giant black crack appeared, leading straight to the outer space. The aura that seeped out was terrifying, especially the bloodlight that splashed out. The various powerhouses that were rushing towards the ancestral hall's resource lands were shocked, their hearts filled with disbelief. Didn't they say that Su Yan was surrounded and suppressed by the Great Killing Formation? But the result was the exact opposite. The Great Killing Formation was still burning. Although it was nearing its end, the aura fluctuations were too terrifying. Tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers were destroyed, causing a large portion of the ancestral hall's resource lands to sink. But none of this was important. Look, is that Zhu Onbong? All the cultivators present paled. They saw the peerlessly powerful Zhu Onbong being sent flying by Su Yan's peerless fistlight. The entire scene fell silent. The powerhouses of various races were panting heavily. If Su Yan's combat strength was domineering in the past, and he had slaughtered his way to the peak of his generation, the current Su Yan could definitely be called a supreme figure of the younger generation. Zhu Onbong was the son of a supreme existence, and the ancestral hall's little ancestor even possessed a supreme battle body. He could be called a proud son of heaven. Now, even Zhu Onbong was no match for Su Yan. One could imagine the height that Su Yan had reached. He was a young giant of a generation that looked down on the world, slowly rising to become a superstar that could dominate the world in the future. At this moment, even Dragon Snake and the others fell silent. What qualifications did they have to slander Su Yan? He had already slaughtered his way to a peerless glory. He had defeated a supreme body just like that. Throughout the vast cosmos, there were far too few people that could match Su Yan. Even Sundome and King Flash, the two invincible star domain sovereigns of their generation, looked at Su Yan with surprise. Zhu Onbong might not be a star domain sovereign, but he still had a supreme body. However, now that Su Yan had defeated Zhu Onbong, they had to admit that Su Yan was truly powerful. They began to reevaluate Su Yan's strength. Little ancestor, the ancestral hall's resource land shook violently as countless soldiers roared. One after another, the old experts rushed over from afar and let out howls of grief. They really wanted to ask why this was happening. Zhu Onbong was already powerful enough, possessing an invincible foundation. So, why was Su Yan so powerful? This didn't make any sense at all. No matter how great his potential was Zhu Onbong's potential weak? The answer was that it was impossible. Su Yan's punch had left Zhu Onbong doubting his own life. In fact, if Su Yan hadn't obtained 2 jars of great Dao evolution fluid beforehand, there was no way he could have sent Zhu Onbong flying with a single punch. Fellow Taoist Shueguan, if you go over now, you can kill Su Yan, Sundome said. There's no hurry to kill him. Shueguan had his hands behind his back. His divine might was awe-inspiring, as if he was an emperor overlooking the world, inspecting his subjects and territory. He was extremely conceited. These words were overflowing with domineering aura, startling Sundome. When he was fighting against Shueguan, he didn't even probe out Shueguan's overall strength. Just how powerful this person was still an unknown. Roar! Zhu Onbong suddenly let out a long roar. His blood-dyed hair danced wildly, and his entire body rippled with black divine light. The divine might of his supreme body that had been scattered reassembled. He was like a heavenly war god who carried the heavens on his back. I'm invincible. Zhu Onbong released a powerful conviction. He wouldn't be defeated so easily. As the ancient firmament scripture was activated, a majestic firmament world was released from his body. It was as if a real firmament was released, and it exuded an aura that could destroy all living things. Everyone was horrified. Zhu Onbong was just too powerful. His body surged with the aura of a supreme being, and he released a furious battle intent. When the ancestral blood in his body began to burn, the color of heaven and earth changed, and even the outer space became pitch black. Bloodline power. The spectators were terrified. This was an extremely powerful bloodline power that affected the changes in the world. Zhu Onbong was the son of a supreme expert, and his bloodline power was extremely powerful. Once it was released, he would definitely possess peerless strength. Roar! Zhu Onbong let out a long roar. He wanted to reverse the situation and kill Su Yan. When the supreme expert's bloodline power was released to the extreme, wisps of grand and majestic aura surged out. It was as if the energy had crossed over from prehistoric times. It was abnormally terrifying and filled with an unparalleled aura. In the pitch-black firmament world, a majestic figure appeared, sitting cross-legged in the blurry time. It was as if the projection of a supreme expert had crossed over to the divine mountain range, filled with unparalleled majesty. Little Ancestor is invincible. The people of the ancestral hall roared. They were still confident in Zhu Onbong. They felt that Zhu Onbong's combat strength had soared to the extreme, and he would definitely be an invincible existence. There was no way he would lose. Su Yan, I'm going to tear you apart alive. Zhu Onbong was really pushed to the edge by Su Yan. He released his strongest power and rushed forward, as if he was an invincible being who carried the heavens on his back. Boundless black torrents surged out of his body, and together with the supreme expert's bloodline power, rushed forward to kill. Rumble! The vast territory was pushed forward. Looking from afar, one could see thousands of black waves rumbling over, crushing the void, breaking through the clouds, and rushing into the sky. All of the energy sources swooped down on Su Yan. How terrifying! This is the power of the supreme expert's bloodline. The energy contains fluctuations that can crush the world. Can Madman Su block this kind of energy? In ancient times, it was rumored that the bloodline of the Burial Realm clan was extremely powerful. However, with the passage of time and the continuous decline of the clan, the bloodline's energy has become very weak. It is said that too much of it has been lost. When the endless energy sources were about to swoop down on Su Yan, it was as if a dam had been blasted open. That dam was endlessly resplendent. He was like a golden god of war, majestic and domineering. He was like a golden cosmic prison, shaking out endless beams of energy. Kill! Su Yan roared, valiant and invincible. His entire body erupted with golden light. He rushed over madly, like an invincible divine king who had transcended the world. Su Yan's battle blood boiled and burned fiercely. It was as if countless cosmic bodies were born in his body. Su Yan's body turned into a giant star. How valiant was he! His physical body was supreme, and he used the great Tao evolution liquid to perfect the profundity of all things. His body was like the universe. Although this path wasn't perfect yet, Su Yan could also be said to be a peerless, murderous weapon unsheathed. He released a terrifying beam of light that split the sky and split the sea. It bombarded the enormous black waves that filled the sky and began to explode. The world seemed to be collapsing. Under everyone's trembling eyes, the earth and rocks collapsed. Two indistinct and terrifying shadows collided in the destructive mountains and rivers. One side was like a great star in the universe. The other side was like a divine furnace for refining the heavens. This wasn't just a collision of battle constitutions, but also a clash of heavenly secret techniques. The vast mountains and rivers rumbled. The moment of their collision was too terrifying. Destructive cracks appeared in the heavens and earth, and energy fluctuations rushed into the great regions. A large number of creatures were sent flying. The fluctuations of the battle were too tyrannical. The moment the two great experts collided, the heavens were torn apart, and energy ripples ran through the starry sky. It was as if the heavenly soldiers of the celestial realm were colliding. The two powerful battle constitutions glowed, peerless and matchless. Both of them withstood the attacks of their opponents and launched a bloody collision. People saw the shattered void dyed in blood. Bloody light sputtered out from the two experts. Kill! After Zhu Onbong unleashed his fury, the power of the supreme physique was unleashed. It was as if he had unleashed all his potential and turned into a divine furnace to refine Su Yan. Roar! Su Yan roared. After all, this was the supreme physique's life-risking technique. Zhu Onbong had even released the supreme physique's origin power. How powerful was this? Zhu Onbong was determined to kill Su Yan, even if it meant sacrificing himself. However, when the celestial battle physique's origin power attacked, Su Yan's flesh shell was like a furnace that had been activated. What kind of divine ability was the divine furnace? It could refine powerful enemies, but it required a great amount of divine power to activate the divine furnace. The celestial battle physique used his supreme origin power to refine Su Yan. Moreover, with the unique effect of the divine furnace, it could use the supreme origin power to refine the heavens. It was enough to cover Su Yan's entire body. Buzz. For a moment, the light shining from Su Yan's treasured body became resplendent. Every inch of his flesh and muscles burned. His internal organs rumbled. The source of his chi and blood was boiling. His treasured body was surging with a supreme aura. Su Yan was like a terrifying vortex. He began to greedily absorb the celestial battle physique's supreme origin power. Just by absorbing a small portion, Su Yan's treasured body's damaged origin power blazed. It was as if he was born lacking this thing. He needed to bathe under the world's kings to replenish his origin power and kill his way to the heavens. What kind of physique do you have? Zuanbong was so scared that his scalp went numb. He felt that Su Yan had absorbed the supreme origin power in his body. How could this happen? He felt that when he released the supreme physique's origin power to fight Su Yan was like a divine furnace that wanted to rob him of his supreme origin power. However, when Su Yan was a cultivator and continued to absorb the supreme origin power, he found that it was difficult to absorb a large amount of it. After all, it was not his origin power, so it was more difficult to absorb it. Even so, Su Yan's treasured body emitted a vague supreme might. It was like a supreme being that had been hibernating in the river of time. Only when the supreme origin power was sufficient would it be able to break out of its prison and intimidate the heavens. Ha ha ha. Su Yan's hair danced wildly. With a loud laugh, heaven and earth exploded. Zuanbong, who had lost control of his mind, spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was about to tremble violently from Su Yan's vibrations. Zuanbong, your end has come. Su Yan's divine might overflowed. He broke free of all the pressure. His aura soared. He descended from the sky and raised his foot to suppress Zuanbong. How dare you? Zuanbong came back to his senses and saw Su Yan descending from the sky. Why wouldn't I dare? Su Yan was like a young supreme being that looked down on the world, trampling on the universe. What supreme physique? What supreme projection? Everything was trembling beneath his feet. He was like a king that had slaughtered his way to the world. His essence, chi, and spirit were too domineering.